Lab avalanches over the weekend. Now, the Utah Avalanche Center is warning that similar snow conditions could happen tonight and tomorrow. The center's Greg Gagne says the slabs form when conditions are windy.
Where it's wind drifted, what happens is it's all been packed and condensed into this slab of snow. And, in some ways it looks like a slab of concrete.
Gagne says skiers and snowboarders should stay in fresh snow that is not firm and does not look chalky. He says the slabs are usually shallow but can be dangerous and tricky. He advises people to check the Avalanche website before heading to the hills. The Bureau of Land Management wants to hear from Utahns about the future of Bears Ears National Monument. Public input will be accepted for 90 days as the government processes what exactly they want to do with the land around it. 7 open house meetings are planned. The Utah DWR is trying to track down the people who left a group of deer to waste. KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston.
Hunters took the heads of 4 bucks and left the bodies. The Division of Wildlife Resources says that's a Class B misdemeanor, and officers say the deer were shot with rifles between October and November last year, around the time of the muzzleloader hunt season.
To report any information or dig deeper, just check out the article on KSLNewsRadio.com. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up this morning, up 0.6%, 232 points. We're at 39,001. And coming up, get ready for that rain if it's not already in your area. We do have rain in the forecast. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 9:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
A lot of you already know that when it comes to HVAC maintenance, repair, and replacement, no one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services. And if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner, this ad's for you. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and right now we're having our most popular sale of the year. Here's how it works. When you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it, about $400. The furnace is free. You just pay the labor. One of the reasons this sale is so popular, there are no gimmicks, like you have to buy our most expensive air conditioner to qualify for a free furnace. You could buy our most basic, least expensive air conditioner, and you'd still get a new furnace for just the cost to install it. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services by March 31st and schedule a free estimate. One of our HVAC supervisors will come to your home and explain everything. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Want more speed? Well, you're in luck because Xfinity just increased their internet speeds and they're faster than ever. Plus, with super fast internet and a reliable connection, you can do more of what you love whenever you want. More gaming, more downloading, more video chatting, and more cozy nights on the couch streaming your favorite movies and TV shows. If life with more speed sounds pretty awesome, that's because it is. It's time to get more out of your internet with faster speeds from Xfinity. Get 300 megabit Xfinity internet for only $25 a month for 12 months with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included. That's 50% more speed for the same great price. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and other charges extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Want more speed? Go to Xfinity.com, call or visit a store today.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
Well, man, it's the rain that's affecting the drive as much as anything else right now. North 15 should be clear, but it's still slow from Midvale into Salt Lake City. Stop and go down in the Midvale portion. It does actually get moving a little better as you get closer to downtown. Same story on South 15. You're fine through Davis County. You hit North Salt Lake in the wet conditions and you bog down. Got a crash on the right shoulder eastbound 201 right now just before you get to 215. That's what's got you slow back past Bangerter Highway in West Valley. Need a perfect event venue? There's a place. This is the Place Heritage Park. Ideal for weddings, events, featuring 11 venues, beautiful grounds, affordability for any celebration. Call or visit thisistheplace.org. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be cloudy with lots of rain, and it will continue into the evening with rain turning to snow overnight. Right now we do have showers and 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Hey, thanks for joining us. You're not going to hear us tomorrow, actually, because of the BYU basketball game. So this is the last chance you have to hear us until Thursday. Maybe not even Thursday, because if BYU wins, we're off Thursday as well. This week is wild, but for right now, be present in the moment. You're with Dave and Dujanovic, minus Dujanovic. No Debbie.
Close.
Debbie.
You're close to Dave and Dujanovic.
But one of my favorites, Maura Carabello, host of KSL at Night, also with the Exoro Group. Thank you for filling in. Otherwise, it would have been all 3 hours of me.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a good way to kick off the basketball, season tomorrow.
You're right. We're getting into a little bit of March Madness right now. But for right now, it's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And again, these are typically the three things that Debbie wants you to know, but today is the three things that Mara and I want you to know.
Right.
Countdown. 3.
All right. So, you know what? Does it help that I'm in the wrong script? I'm in the wrong script. So bear with me. I'm getting there. It's a good start to the show, Mara. I was about to start yesterday's segment all over again.
That would have been good, too.
No, that's right. We don't just wing it, folks. We actually have things written down. It's called the script. And I'm in the right one right now. Okay, so Utah State Athletics, they're taking it in the teeth right now because after a tough loss, the women's basketball coach got fired, which is something we learned, and she told us moments after the game and just a few seconds before the press conference.
I'm not going to be rebuilding. I just coached my last game at Utah State. I spoke with Diana, and they're going in a different direction.
So again, here's the timeline. A brutal loss after a tough season. On the way to the post-game press conference, she gets fired. Somebody asks her, okay, what are you going to do about rebuilding the team? She's like, I don't know. I was just informed I got fired. And Utah State is just taking it right now.
Real-time firing.
Real-time firing. Okay, now, Maura, I'll pick your brain in a little bit. You're a boss.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to fire somebody?
I have, yes.
Okay, I want to find out the best practices. And is the best practice 30 seconds before the press conference? That's what I want to know.
Countdown. 2.
All right, it's been a couple years since Governor Cox banned TikTok on state devices. I don't know how closely that's enforced, but it was technically 2022. He banned TikTok. Now the U.S. is looking at taking a much bigger swing at TikTok, trying to knock it out. And it's not sitting well with a lot of Americans.
Y'all have been at this TikTok ban thing for 4 years. Aren't y'all busy?
Aren't y'all busy? Where do you land on the TikTok thing? Do you allow it in your business?
No. Well, I'm sure we probably do because I don't police it. So I'm going to say yes.
So yeah, maybe, sort of.
Maybe.
I want to know how there's probably 200 million downloads of TikTok in the United States. What are you going to do? You going to start policing my cell phone? There's no way.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
All right, the Alpine School District. Looking into the future, we've been talking about it all morning long on Utah's Morning News. It's the state's largest school district. It's still growing, and they're looking at breaking the Alpine School District up into smaller districts. Now, the Alpine School District goes from Orem up and around Utah Lake. So it starts on the east, it moves up and around the north side of Utah Lake, over onto the west side, over to Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs. It's enormous.
It's a mega district. It's a power district.
It is a power district.
Yes.
And now they're going to break them up.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
That is, maybe they're going to break them up. maybe they're going to break him up. Adam Small has been reporting on this for Utah's Morning News.
The district hired out-of-state MGT Consulting to study what they could do to accommodate the steady growth they continue to see to this day. And the company came up with 6 options, which vary from keeping Utah's largest school district together to splitting it into 2, maybe even 3 different school districts. They'll hold the first public meeting where people can comment on their proposals tonight at Timpanogos High School in the auditorium at 7 o'clock. They'll have another meeting at Vista Heights Middle School tomorrow night and one more at American Fork Junior High on Thursday. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Alpine School District takes care of about 80,000 kids.
Right.
The most, not by far the most, but the most in the state. Davis School District takes care of about 72,000, so they're very large as well. So at what point does being a big school district just become overly burdensome? Well, we learned that best practices is about 80,000. That's kind of the limit. And if they're still looking at growing, now you've got to start dividing it up.
So that was the key. They're still looking at growing. I mean, this is a part of the state that we know is not steady. It's not in decline. It's got some room to grow. If you look at all of the estimates that come from right after the census, as you know, Kempsey Gardner at the University of Utah does this great analysis. And this is still a hot spot. Utah County and headed a little south, hot spot for growth. So if you know that's coming and your professional consultants, I mean, what struck my ear is they say maybe we should divide it or maybe even make it 3 districts. If you're potentially looking down the road, not right now, if you're looking down the road and you could become 3 districts, probably easier to do it now than, it just gets harder, I think. And the communities start to feel a little different. I mean, one of the things I love about Davis County, it's getting big.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all will need to look at dividing. But Davis County still feels like Davis County. I think there's an affinity between those groups and neighborhoods. The area you're talking about, lots of different communities are growing. They all feel different. This is all to their credit. Maybe they should have smaller districts.
That's a great point because you look at Orem, which has been around forever. Very well established, older schools, generational housing type stuff. And then you look at Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain. What do they have in common?
Right.
So they're pretty different. And geographically, they're not close.
Right.
That's a drive.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we, my kids all went to Salt Lake City schools, but we played in those areas. Whew. They are driving between. So it isn't like you're breaking up neighborhoods on one side of the street. Well, or the potential is there that you wouldn't have to do that. Your friends, your kids' friends would probably still be drawing from your local neighborhoods. It's not like you're dividing. I mean, sometimes those dense urban areas where you are almost like cutting a neighborhood in half. I don't know. Now might be the time.
So if you do, and this is a great point, I thought 3 was over the top, but I think you made a good point that if eventually you're going to have to do it, why not get that infrastructure in place right now so that you can grow into it? But the point being, if you do divide it up into 3 separate districts, let's look at the administrative costs.
True.
Because now all of a sudden you need 3 superintendents, 3 administrative staffs, 3 HR departments. Who's going to run transportation for all those 3? That it gets divided up, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a divorce.
Yeah.
When you're splitting up, you're like, well, why do I get all the old buses and you get all the new buses?
Right. And as you said, I mean, you are tripling your costs for just the administrative part. Maybe it's not worth it right now. Maybe, I don't know. I'd be hard-pressed to say it's not worth 2 districts.
Right.
3, does 3 build in? Are you looking too far ahead? And the people at the moment are saying, I'm paying too much for the future.
And there are going to be public meetings where you can see the plans, the drawings, and you can ask your questions. But we want to bring on State Auditor John Dougal in about an hour, because I want to talk to him about administrative costs specifically. How much is going to administration? How much of a drain is that? Does the redundancy or being able to run a large district with just one superintendent and staff, is that more effective, better, bang for your buck, so to speak? Because just a couple of years ago, the State Board of Education released how much money is being spent in Utah on administrative costs. $665 million.
It's a chunk of change.
Wow. I mean, that's over $500 million just in administrative costs. Is that too much? Is it just right? We'll continue that conversation coming up in about an hour. But next, what happens if TikTok is banned in the United States? Are you worried that the government's going to be cracking down on your phone? I might. I might throw up a little bit of a fight. I love TikTok.
Y'all have been at this TikTok ban thing for 4 years. Aren't y'all busy? Aren't there like wars, homeless people? There's got to be a bigger fish to fry in the U.S. government.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Are you using the KSL News Radio app to listen to your favorite shows whenever you want? You can podcast Utah's morning news, even after it's finished at 9. You can listen to Dave and Dujanovic or Boyd Matheson. Just click on the podcast tab. And you can stream Jeff Kaplan live between 3 and 7 right from the player. All of those shows, plus the KSL Greenhouse and Cougar Sports Saturday, they're on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
Imagine if you could track your credit score anytime without impacting your score. Or imagine if you could know before you apply for a loan how it might affect your credit score.
Well, you don't have to imagine it anymore because our friends at Utah Community Credit Union have done that. It's called the UCCU Credit Score Toolbox, and it's right on board their app.
You can take the building of your credit score into your own hands. All the things that you can do right there on the app, like, you can correct errors to your credit report right there and improve your credit score.
Well, they told us recently you can even simulate what will happen if you pay off a credit card or apply for a loan, how that might affect your credit score. I've never heard of anything like it.
Plus, you get a free monthly credit report that includes all the information that you'd find on your credit file.
The third tool in your credit arsenal is credit monitoring, and UCCU makes it happen. There's no new apps to download. The Credit Score Toolbox is right inside the UCCU mobile banking app.
Available now for free. UCCU. Love where you bank.
American energy is under attack. Joe Biden has waged a war on American natural resources and made it harder to produce affordable, reliable, and clean energy right here in Utah. Our energy prices are already going up. Biden's policies will make it worse. But Republican John Curtis has our back. There is no greater supporter of unleashing American energy than John Curtis. John Curtis knows our abundant natural resources help keep us free and safe, powers our economy, keeps the lights on, and keeps Utah on the move. John Curtis is Utah tough. He's taken the fight to Joe Biden and the Washington politicians who all want to hurt American energy. And now we need a conservative to take the fight to the United States Senate. We need Republican John Curtis, a strong defender of American energy dominance in the fight for us.
Paid for by Clear Path Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
Celebrate Easter. Join Jenny Oaks Baker for The Redeemer, the music of the life of Jesus Christ. March 18th at Abravanel Hall. Save 30% using code KSL30. Tickets at jennyoaksbaker.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, more rain on the way. Get ready for possible snow overnight and tomorrow. Second, North Ogden police are asking everyone to keep an eye out after a reported attempted kidnapping of a 9-year-old. The girl tells police a man in a white SUV stopped in the neighborhood and asked her to get in to get some ice cream. Third, the Boeing whistleblower and former employee was found dead in his home. Police are saying it looks like he died by suicide. Right now, it is 46 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, I'm going to be completely and totally honest. My favorite app of all time, TikTok.
You love it.
It's better than Candy Crush. It's more entertaining than Plants vs. Zombies. I mean, TikTok is by far my most favorite app of all time.
I wasn't going to out myself, but now I feel compelled to. I have downloaded TikTok, but I haven't opened it. And you want to know why, Dave? I am prone to be an addict. Like I know
you have some addictive behaviors.
So I am
tendencies.
pathetically like looking at reels here and there because it's all I can handle. I would spiral down hours of dog skateboarding or whatever I needed to.
That's exactly what it is. It's so true. But the United States government, and we've seen this move for a long time here in Utah. The governor, Spencer Cox, banned TikTok on state devices. So if you're working for the state, you have a phone, you can't download TikTok because there's some security concerns. But this is not just a Spencer Cox thing. This is not just a Utah thing. For years, the United States has looked at the concerns about TikTok because TikTok was developed in China, and there's some security issues. But that doesn't help the guy down the street that has a business that advertises exclusively on TikTok.
Tomorrow the House is voting on another TikTok ban bill. Can't we just let it go? Y'all have been at this TikTok ban thing for 4 years. Aren't y'all busy? Aren't there like wars? Homeless people? There's gotta be a bigger fish to fry in the U.S. government. But no, instead we're gonna make sure that small businesses can't advertise their homemade soap on TikTok. Come on, man.
It's a fair question. It's a fair argument because there are a lot of businesses here in America, here in Utah, that use TikTok as a business, as a platform to get their message out, to sell their goods. And what would this mean if there was a crackdown? Mara, you're not a huge TikToker, but...
No, but I'm huge on social media, and here's what I haven't heard yet from the government that I want to hear. So we're worried about security. So is there nothing in between? I either don't get TikTok at all, or I have it fully. Isn't there other agreements? I mean, the Congress is considering taking legislative action. Yep. Well, couldn't they write into the service agreements? I mean, a little bit, I'm conflating a little. We're talking about other platforms of social media. We've been talking a ton about kids on Instagram, and we're offering solutions like maybe you have to prove that you're over 16. Well, isn't there anything we can do with the owners of TikTok to say, okay, fine, we'll limit tracking, in the way you configure this. Can't we also secure American privacy and protection that we're legit worried about from the Chinese government, and still allow us access to a platform that is engaging Americans?
Throw up some more guardrails,
right?
And something a little bit more substantive. Mike Dubusky joins us right now, ABC News technology reporter. And Mike, where are we at? Does it seem to be gaining some momentum, this ban of TikTok in America?
It certainly does, Dave. And as you guys alluded to just there, this is not the first time that the government has tried to ban this Chinese app. This actually all started back in 2020 when former President Trump signed an executive order to ban TikTok in the United States, but that was pretty quickly tied up in the courts and never really ended up going anywhere. Now we're seeing a similar effort from Congress. So last week we saw a piece of legislation introduced in the House of Representatives. It's a bipartisan bill. Republican Mike Gallagher and Democrat Raja Krishnamurthy put this bill forward. And essentially what this legislation would do is it would give ByteDance, which is TikTok's Chinese parent company, 180 days to sell off TikTok, presumably to an American firm. So you guys were asking, is there a middle ground here? Seems like lawmakers think that a middle ground could potentially be a TikTok owned by a Microsoft or a Meta or a different American firm, and that will go some way to assuaging some of the security concerns. Those concerns right now are similar to what we've been talking about with regards to TikTok for years now, that the Chinese government could potentially go to ByteDance and force them to share American user data with them. And then separately, there's this other sort of growing concern about TikTok being used for propaganda purposes. We know that this is a very popular app, especially among young people. Lawmakers are concerned that the Chinese government could potentially use that to leverage pro-China messaging, to insert videos that are favorable to the Chinese government and get those messages in front of eyes that would otherwise have not seen them.
So, Mike, you said something interesting earlier in which this is considered bipartisan. The original banning came from Donald Trump. But, what we've heard in the last couple of days is one of the biggest influencers on social media, Donald Trump himself, has come out and now has said, he's not really for this. Donald Trump being opposed to this sale, will it make a difference in Congress?
It's a great question, right? And there has been a good deal of reporting about Trump's reversal here and whether that puts enough pressure on Republican lawmakers going forward with this bill to ban TikTok. It does not seem like Trump, coming out against a TikTok ban has really made a difference. We expect there to be a vote on this as soon as this week. This bill passed unanimously out of the House Energy and Commerce Committee last week. They fast-tracked this to a full House vote. It seems like they are going to at least vote, if not fully pass this bill, as soon as tomorrow. But after that, things are a lot less clear. There is no comparative bill in the Senate that body could take up. So there's the potential that the House passes this bill this week, and then it just sits off to the sidelines as Congress considers other things, budgetary concerns and what have you. Will this bill pass before the 2024 election? Will this be something that falls to the lame duck Congress that follows? These are the questions that are lingering at this point. Though it's worth mentioning that the current president, President Biden, says he will sign the bill if it ever does reach his desk, which is interesting given that the White House did just start its own TikTok account as part of its campaign.
That's exactly where my mind went. I'm like, he just started his TikTok account. After all of this, it's like, oh, wait, can I get some votes out of it? You know what? Let's start a TikTok account. Mike Dubusky, thank you so much for joining us, ABC News technology reporter. And Mara, one of the things that I kept hearing, and I've continually heard in this argument, is there's a potential that they could spy. There's a potential that they could influence or sway or use propaganda against us. Why are we cracking so hard
just the one
on the potential, right?
Yeah.
And just the one platform? We had all of this. We know Russia had all sorts of influence on social media during the 2016 election. You didn't see us banning Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, technology is emerging real time. We're using it in real time. People are inventing things that show up on our phone even months later. And I think it worries. You're right. The potential is what so much legislation is about now. The potential, not facts, not data driven. Now, I mean, I think there's not a one of us who wants to give Chinese government a foothold into America in a way that would ever hurt America. So I think like that's off the table for everybody. But how we go about doing it in a place we don't have much precedent or legislation yet still on social media and emerging technologies.
For me, ultimately, it's an odd line to draw in the sand. When we already have unbelievable cooperation and we work with China back and forth. We send them stuff, they send us stuff all the time. We have businesses that are absolutely run on a relationship with China.
We're economically dependent on them,
as they are us as well.
Right.
I mean, we are so symbiotic in our relationship. We really can't do without each other. It's just strange to me that all of a sudden this is the business where we say, no, this crosses the line. Well, what about all the other businesses in America that are absolutely dependent on working with China?
Yeah, and I mean, what you're going to see is if there's a nefarious part of China, they're not going to stop. You can ban TikTok, and if there is sort of this movement in China to get their ways into our technology, I mean, that's going to still keep going. So I do think we have to become more sophisticated about stopping foreign governments from infiltration and what that means in terms of maybe the Trojan horse they're riding in on.
Great point. Okay, what can you do if you have a consistent doorbell ditcher? Like, what are we talking about doorbell ditchers? It's because someone maybe overreacted a little bit from a prank. Like, it was a pretty good overreaction, but what do you do if you're constantly being doorbell ditched? Can you get the cops involved? Let's find out next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, more trouble for Boeing. ABC's Lionel Moise has the latest.
The New York Times reports the company has failed 33 of the 89 audits the FAA conducted after a door panel blew off in mid-flight. Investigators later found 4 bolts were missing. The FAA also conducted 13 audits of Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems. 7 reportedly resulted in a failing grade.
Boeing responded to the Times report saying in part, quote, "We are squarely focused on taking significant demonstrated action with transparency at every turn." The Boeing whistleblower has died. The former employee who raised concerns over safety and quality control was found dead in his home in South Carolina. Police are saying that it looks like he died by suicide, but they will be investigating the death of John Barnett. He was 62 years old. Voters in Georgia, Hawaii, Mississippi, and Washington all go to the polls today. After tonight's primary results, it is expected both President Biden and former President Trump will have enough delegates to officially be named their party's nominees. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 218. That's 0.5%. We're at 38,988. And coming up, we've got rain today. We'll check the weather forecast. KSL Weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, I've been with Kinetico, or had a Kinetico water softener installed in my house for years now. I've taken it for granted. Let me be honest. I've totally taken it for granted because I just enjoy all the benefits of it. Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country. And when I had them come out to my house, I said, hey, guys, I had this growing up, but, at 13, you don't totally fully appreciate what's going on, the inner workings of your house. I said, will you just lay out for me some of the things that soft water does, to benefit my house? And they said, well, number one, you're going to feel a huge difference when you take a shower or a bath. Soft water is easier on the skin. And because my family really struggles with dry skin, especially like right now in the winter, you'll see a huge difference. And that has absolutely proven to be the case. We don't have to bathe in lotion every single day because the soft water has been phenomenal. So if you're interested in learning for yourself what soft water can do for you and your family, give Kinetico of Utah a call, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. They're an authorized Kinetico dealer. Or you can learn more from their website, softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And did you know that we get a bunch of service calls per year from people who didn't even hire us? That means they originally hired someone else to replace their siding, gutters, and windows. Then later, when a problem popped up, they tried to call their contractor back to fix it, only to find out that the contractor has ceased to exist. They're gone, done, out of business. At RGS Exteriors, we've been serving Utah for 70 years. As a fifth-generation owned contractor, we've got customers who are the grandkids of our customers we had in the 1950s and 60s. We're not going anywhere. We will be here when you need us, period. For siding, gutters, and windows, now and forever, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit at rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
Well, delays still on I-15. It's coming in through South Salt Lake on some wet conditions coming up past 33rd. We've still got some Bangerter slowdowns at 4700 South, but your southbound drive all clear from Ogden to Salt Lake City. Is the IRS harassing you? Are tax problems ruining your life? Let Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox help. Visit taxhelput.com. That's taxhelput.com. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be cloudy with lots of rain, and that rain will continue into the evening with turning to snow, so some rain mixed with snow tonight. Right now it is raining and 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
A 70-year-old man from Eagle Mountain has been arrested after police say he shot multiple plastic rounds at a group of teens. That will get you arrested.
It will. It will. Just a good old-fashioned pellet gun shooting sure will. But you know, the question is, have we all been that frustrated before with teenagers doing nonsense?
I've got all sorts of teenagers at my house. Like every single day, I've got a group of teenagers at my house. So, yeah, can they be annoying? 100%. They absolutely can. And they annoyed this man, apparently, and annoyed him by doorbell ditching him for weeks on end.
That can be rough.
And that's when he snapped.
Yeah, and you know he's now booked and in the Utah County Jail because of this shooting. He fired at a car because it was the same color as the one he believed was involved in the previous incidences.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's his frustration level. And I mean, as you said, it was weeks on end.
Yeah, and at what point, what's the appropriate move? If kids are just harassing you, bullying you, or playing a prank, like where does the law step in at this point? Because this man obviously was so frustrated after weeks that he kind of snapped and pulls out a pellet gun, I guess. Let's learn more from Sheriff County or Utah Sheriff's Office, Spencer Cannon. Thanks for joining us. Maybe you can fill in some of the blanks, like what happened and what led up to this. Is there something we're missing here?
No, you got most of it right. He's actually been released from jail. He was booked into jail, and I'm kind of starting this backwards, but he was booked into jail Sunday night, early Monday morning on 6 third-degree felony counts of aggravated assault and one third-degree felony count of criminal mischief for the damage that was caused to the car by shooting at it with this pellet kind of a gun. Anyway, we understand the frustration. We have responded to several calls out there over the last couple of weeks of kids doorbell ditching this gentleman's home, and we certainly understand the frustration there. We have to realize, though, that it is doorbell ditching. While it can be a problem and the kids doing it, they've got to recognize that if we get called and we catch them, there is potential that they could be cited for something like disturbing the peace or something like that, or harassment, and they don't need that. But on the other side of it, there's no justification for responding the way this gentleman apparently did by coming out and firing what these youth thought was a regular handgun firearm, and turns out not to be, but they did not know that. It looks like one. Now, I don't know if they could see it from there, but they could hear it, and that is the perception of these young people is at least partly what counts here in the aggravated assault charges. But there's no justification for doing that. We were doing everything we could. We had deputies doing what we call extra patrols there. We were actually in the evenings between 8:30 and 10:30 or so, when these incidents had happened, the doorbell ditching incidents, we had deputies up there trying to see the cars driving through that the youth were in and doing this. I don't know if they were doing other homes as well, but they were doing it to this man's house. He didn't take kindly to it, but he also didn't respond well to it.
So you said very well. I mean, the difference in the response. I mean, he will be charged with a few misdemeanors and potentially a felony. And I thought you explained well, and I think we agree that it was disproportionate. His response was not appropriate. But what about the other side, in which there's maybe a disturbing of the peace? So what would have been a better practice if this is going on for weeks and weeks? And let's take into account, I want to stay maybe specifically with this man. He's in his 70s. I think that is a factor in sort of how he's feeling and responding to this. What should he have done?
Well, he, up to that point, had done what he should do, and that is call us. They had home security camera, like a doorbell type camera, and they did have some video, and there was hope that we would be able to track down. We had a vehicle description and these kinds of things. We certainly understand and even share his frustration at this kind of disruption. If it happens at 7 in the evening, maybe it's not as big of a deal. But if it happens around 10 o'clock or 10:30 at night, that can be more disturbing, because maybe you're climbing into bed and trying to go to sleep and someone's pounding on your door. And so that's frustrating. But he had done what he should do, and that is to call. And we were doing, I think, everything that we could at that point to try to identify who the suspects of the doorbell ditching were. But we hadn't been able to do that yet. And you have to realize that when you do something in response, that response has to be proportional. If we respond on a call and somebody punched someone in the face even, and we see that person, we can't shoot them, we can't use deadly force on them. It has to be proportional. We can take them into custody. We certainly hope they won't fight us, but in a case like this where somebody is knocking on your door, pounding on your door repeatedly apparently, and then he responds in this case, not even to the kids who were these kids that were victims in this case had not doorbell ditched him that night. He saw a car out front of his house, and that's when he went out, and without saying anything to them or them saying anything to him, they had not come onto his property. They had not knocked on his door. He apparently began firing this BB-type gun at their car and did cause some damage to it. So that is clearly what we believe to be a very disproportionate response.
Had these kids perhaps not doorbell ditched that night, but did they admit to doorbell ditching in the past, or had they been the unfairly chosen by this man, or was there good reason they were chosen?
No, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. But what would matter in a case like this is even if he knew with 100% certainty that these were the kids that had done it previously, the response would still have been far out of line with what would be allowed or expected to do in response to what they had done before. But I don't know. I don't think they were the same kids. You can see in some doorbell video that they were parked on the side of the street opposite his home, and it appeared that they were changing places in the car, seating positions or whatever. And this man came out, and to them, at least in that situation, just without warning or anything, he didn't say anything. He just started shooting this replica or realistic-looking firearm at them and hitting the car. So, no, whether or not they were the same kids who had done it before wouldn't matter.
Wouldn't have mattered. It still would have been too extreme of a response. Spencer Cannon,
exactly. Thank
you for joining us from the Utah County Sheriff's Office. When we come back, this was a pretty wild firing. Now, coaches get fired all the time, but here in Utah, Utah State University fired their women's basketball coach just moments before she had a post-game press conference, and it was enormously awkward. We'll let you listen to it.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Believe it or not, it's time for spring cleaning. Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking today. You're not the only one who's tired of winter this year. Your carpets are too, with Zero Res's platinum-rated cleaning systems and environmentally friendly ZR water. They'll extract all that nasty out so your home will look and smell like a home should, with their no residue difference. It's what separates Zero Res from the competition. Just check out the 3,300 raving customer reviews online with a 4.8 Google rating and see what the hype is all about. Right now, get one room of carpet cleaning starting at just $25 with a 4-room minimum. And also take 25% off all other services like air ducts, tile, upholstery, and rugs by using promo code CLEANWEEK to celebrate Utah's Cleaning Week. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now, 801-288-9376. Or go online to ZeroRes.com and say you want the Clean Week special. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
A happy place comes in many colors. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. During our spring sales event, special offers are available through April 30th. Schedule your home painting project today and bring happiness home. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Feels like home.
Brought to you by Dominion Energy's ThermWise program, where they put their energy into helping you conserve it. Start saving energy and money today at thermwise.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, valley rain and mountain snow kicks off a storm today that will continue into tomorrow with a chance of valley snow tomorrow morning. Second, 30 million Americans are facing prescription drug shortages, and Utah is second on that list. Third, Utah wildlife officials are trying to find whoever left a group of deer to waste. Officials say they found 4 dead bucks without heads in Utah County. Right now it is raining and 46 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
It's hard to describe how awkward it was to listen to the Utah State University women's basketball coach reveal that she's been fired.
It was brutal.
It was so uncomfortable, and I feel terrible because these are people's lives, their careers, where they live. Coaching is already a pretty precarious situation. Everyone gets fired eventually.
Right.
So this is not totally atypical as for a coach to be fired. But how Utah State fired this woman, well, you got to listen to it. And this is, let me set a little bit of the stage. And by the way, Mara Carabello is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today.
Good to be here.
You're a boss.
Yes.
And you've had to fire people. So
I
want to tap into your expertise. And we also have some tips. We talked to our human resources department, Anna. I said, all right, help us out a little bit. You're gonna have to give us some of the best firing practices. Because even though this was really, it feels harsh, it feels maybe even a little cruel, is there ever a good way to fire somebody? And can you choose your words perfectly? And does the person that's being fired even care?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's never a situation that's good, like where the outcome is what the person wants. Well,
right.
I want to put that exception. I have found usually, too, the people that I've let go, if I'm not happy, they're probably not super happy either.
Okay. You know what? This might be the case. Because Utah State women's basketball team for the last couple years under Kayla Ard has not done well. They've really struggled. This year they finished 5-25 overall. They had 5 wins out of 30 games. They were 2-16 in the Mountain West. So this couldn't have been a huge surprise to Coach Ard. But
so here's what struck. I'm going to tell you the one thing I think about when I'm fired. So I'm not against firing. You will find me surprisingly open to firing. I think that more often than not, people allow people to not develop and not come into their own and don't accept that it's not working out. So I'm not someone who's anti-firing, but there's one word that I think should guide you, and I don't think it guided maybe this moment with Utah State, and it's respect. I mean, you can absolutely say you're not living up to what I need, and you can outline the need, but you think about how you can show as much respect to the person you're letting go, and that's what I didn't like about this moment on tape.
So for the timeline purposes, Utah State, the women's basketball team, loses in a blowout loss to Boise State. So they lose 85-49. They lose by over 30 points, 36 points. That's a huge loss. Like, that's a big loss. So somewhere between the end of the game and the post-game press conference, which typically happens 10 or 15 minutes after the game, the vice president of director of athletics at Utah State University, Diana Sabau, had told her that she was relieved of her duties, is the nice way to say it, right? It had been fired. But no one realized this when the reporters are asking Coach Ard the post-game questions. They asked this, and this was her response, and when she revealed that she had been fired.
And how do you plan to rebuild for next season?
I'm not going to be rebuilding. I just coached my last game at Utah State. I spoke with Diana, and they're going in a different direction, and I respect her decision, and I hope they get a really good coach in. I'm assuming that's going to be the last question. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All. Thank you, Coach.
I'm going to assume that's the last question.
And then she stands up and walks out as she should. I thought she handled that well.
Yes.
She said she respected the decision. She acknowledged that, it was a very sports. That is how, if you're on the head job, you're in the head person. Now, one thing that is unique about this is, a head person fired a head person, right? This isn't someone who is somewhere in the middle. And I do think who you're letting go matters in the conversation. I would have loved to have seen the athletic director up there's new. She's pretty new on the job, and I would have liked to have seen her coming out with. I think what it would have been a class move is if you're going to choose that moment. I wouldn't have chosen that moment, but if you're going to choose that moment, then you come out and carry that water as the person who made that decision.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about it from that point of view. Where they say, hey, you know what, Coach Art is not going to be doing the press conference. We've decided to move in a different direction. We're grateful for the time, effort, and she spent there. But you had her stand up there.
Yeah, and deliver her own news.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's brutal. As hard as it is to be a coach, mm-hmm. and as inevitable as it is that you're going to get fired, and I'm sure Coach Art had seen that after such a terrible season, they had a terrible season, underperformed their own expectations, of course. She probably saw the writing on the walls. Mm-hmm. This isn't a complete and total surprise. But I don't know. I guess the feeling is when you're just coming off a loss, emotions are raw, can't you give somebody a little time to process?
I think about this even broader. One of the things that I do a lot is work with a lot of high-profile elected people on giving them feedback about their public speaking. One of the things I know is you don't get feedback the moment they're off the stage. You don't say, I wish you could have done better, man. That wasn't your best. You give it a little time. You take it away from the emotion of the situation. And when you want to let somebody go, and it isn't personal, it's about performance, they picked one of the most personal times, right?
Yes.
This coach is so emotional at that moment. She's not feeling good. The team's not feeling good. So I think one best practice is to not make firing an emotional experience as much as you can. I mean, it's personal. Yeah. But, to have taken it out of that moment and done it a little more discreetly and have taken it out and have it be about performance. At best, firing should be a performance. Even though it's a bad experience, It should just be about your performance. It should not be made to feel humiliating or personal or, and I think that's what was hard to watch is that you were just like, oh, I'm watching someone in real time right now. That felt unfair.
It's embarrassing,
mm-hmm.
right? You're asking, hey, what are you going to do next year to rebuild your team? She's like, I don't know. It's not going to be me.
Yeah.
And that it ripped my heart out.
Yeah.
Because again, you have to remember these are people.
Yep.
These are families. They have a home. Maybe they've got people to provide for themselves, to their own career to worry about. Is this the last head coaching opportunity I'm ever going to get because we struggled so much? Like all of these emotions are going through her brain, and she's up there. And most of us don't get fired in a public way where we hold a press conference. And now this goes viral. Everyone has watched it a million different times.
Yeah.
It just adds to the embarrassment.
But she handled it well. No whining. She accepted the decision. One thing we don't know about this is how much lead up, right? I mean, usually firings come with maybe some warnings, maybe some performance reviews, whatever your system is. We don't know what the prior conversations were.
We reached out to someone from our human resources department, and your expertise is fantastic. I love your advice, but I wanted to get a few ideas, like best practice. What's the best way to fire somebody? Because I think we can all agree this was not the best way to fire someone, on their way to a post-game press conference that's being broadcast to the nation. That's not a great way to do it, of course. And here's a few things that she said. Number one, clear communication. So clearly communicate the reasons for termination, providing specific examples if possible.
Right.
And that seems very obvious. Stay professional, maintain a professional, empathetic demeanor throughout the conversation, avoid personal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine this can be difficult because the person that's being fired is going to be highly emotional.
Right. And they may be personal about what their language is, which is sort of befits an emotional situation. The other thing that a lot of experts say that I think is really true is you also don't suddenly try and relate and flatter that person at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't start, oh, you're the best, but, right? You're the greatest. I love you. You're so great, but, because it's a mixed message. You just stick to the facts and you let it happen. And maybe, had this happened at Utah State where they had mutually decided to come out, I mean, maybe the coach would have chosen to take the mic, but it didn't seem like they had set her up to be in control. And that's part of letting someone go, I have found, is that you, again, back to the respect, You want them to feel in control as much as possible of this really bad moment in their life.
A couple other things that you can be aware of is you may need security measures to make sure that nothing happens, it doesn't escalate, perhaps protecting company data or assets. That might be a role.
Sure.
You may want to have some follow-up with other people that are remaining on the team to make sure they're doing well, or if they're involved or not. So follow-up is crucial, support services. I do think we learned that's not a great way to do it. So we learned a lesson here nonetheless is don't fire somebody right as they're walking to a national press conference.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Tonight's the first public meeting regarding potential changes to the Alpine School District. Some of those involve splitting it. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Alpine hired Florida-based MGT Consulting to study possible ways they can accommodate all the new students continuing to move into what's already the state's largest school district. And they came up with 6 options, which range from keeping the district together to splitting Alpine into 2, potentially even 3 different school districts. Tonight is the first chance for people to comment on those proposals. The meeting will be at 7 o'clock in the Timpanogos High Auditorium.
And they'll also have meetings tomorrow and Thursday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Haiti's acting prime minister has resigned in the face of a violent gang uprising. Before the announcement on Monday, U.S. officials held emergency meetings with officials from Haiti, the UN, and other Caribbean nations to help chart a path forward. ABC's Matt Rivers has more.
7 people ruling by majority vote will have the powers of the presidency. They will appoint a new interim prime minister, a new council, and that's how Haiti will be governed until new elections can be held. Any ceasefire at all would be welcome relief right now in Port-au-Prince, because in that city right now, the humanitarian crisis is absolutely dire.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 197 points. The S&P 500 is up 188 right now. And our KSL weather, we've got rain and snow on the way. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Good morning. I'm the 40% off window company.
40% off? Of what?
Hey, 40% off!
Yeah, I'll bet it's your biggest sale of the year. This week only, because you need a model home in our neighborhood. Well, nothing. It's baloney. Hi, this is Kathy.
And Doug of Window World. When you hear those things, you know you've entered the baloney zone.
Resist the force of the baloney zone.
Find Window World online at windowworldutah.com.
Or call Window World at 281-8111. That's 281-8111.
And that's no baloney.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Advertising used to be simple. Your options were radio, TV, newspaper, and let's not forget the yellow pages. Now it seems like a tidal wave of options. Podcast, cable TV, streaming, OTT, CTV, audio networks, smart speakers. On top of that, you need digital marketing for your website along with SEM, SEO, display, video, YouTube, email, and all the social media platforms. Look, you're the expert in your business. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert to market you? We are Bonneville Salt Lake, the local marketing and media company you know and trust. We reach customers across all digital and social platforms and have the reach of traditional advertising available as well. We find your customer anytime, any place, anywhere on any device here in Utah or anywhere in the world. We work to optimize your results with our in-house local team of experts, providing you with qualified leads, not just impressions. Contact Stephanie Palmer at KSL for a free consultation, including a complete digital audit with no obligation or cost to you. Email spalmer@ksl.com. That's spalmer@ksl.com.
What's keeping you from learning the language you've always wanted to speak?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make learning fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. And in 10 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons are designed to get you having real conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
That's not long.
It's not hard.
It's perfect.
It starts here. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Savings. Now that's speaking the Lowe's language. And with my Lowe's Rewards, your savings just keep coming. Save money with member-only offers and earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards just for you. Because Lowe's knows you earned it, literally. Learn more about our new loyalty program at Lowes.com/MyLowe'sRewards. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowes.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
And we've got a crash on southbound I-15 in Murray, blocking the HOV lane right now, and there's a cone in the far left lane, but people are only avoiding HOV. Delays, though, 4,500 south down to 5,300 south, and that at the moment is our only freeway backup. Call 801-2880 and get Celebrate Utah's Cleaning Week. One room clean, just starting at just $25 with a 4-room minimum and 25% off all other service. Use promo code CLEANWEEK, 0 res. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, we're expecting rain showers through the day today and possibly snow tomorrow. We'll get some strong winds in the meantime. 45 degrees with the rain shower right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
So typically when we do stories about like best places to live, you know that Utah's going to be at the top of the list.
That's right.
Right? I mean, we like to pat ourselves on the back. We love where we live. How awesome are we?
We rate usually so well on all the ratings.
Yeah, we do. And I like that. I like those stories.
Yeah.
This is not one of those stories.
Well, I mean, we've got a high ranking. It's just
we do.
Not a good one.
All right, this is from bestbrokers.com. It's a new report that found the most affordable states and the least affordable states. Now, let's start off with the most affordable states. So if you want to really stretch that dollar that you're earning, then number one, you're going to live in North Dakota.
There you go. So your dollar goes far on square footage for your house in North Dakota.
Yeah, if you want to buy a home.
Sure, you're going to need to stay indoors most of the time, so that's probably a good thing.
I wonder how many people are like,
sorry, North Dakotans.
If they're listening right now, have a strong affinity to North Dakota. I would never live in North Dakota. Like there's not a radio job in North Dakota out there that's going to entice Dave Noriega to move up there.
But your radio job could be called the Badlands. I mean, that would be kind of.
You know what?
It's pretty cool.
I just changed my tune.
Yeah, there you go.
The Badlands that is so.
Yeah, with Dave Noriega.
Oh, you know what?
Cool.
I lied. I want to go to North Dakota now. You can buy a 500 million acre ranch for $1,500 up in North Dakota.
Yep.
Okay, that's the most affordable. Number two.
Hey, is this heaven? No, it's Iowa.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
I've been to Field of Dreams.
There you go.
It was amazing.
You could buy some farmland right next to that, apparently pretty affordably.
I will tell you this. We drove out there. We were in a motorhome.
Yeah.
Went for a little road trip. We drove for so many hours.
Kept going.
It was
the middle
of nowhere of cornfields And it wasn't until we pulled into the Field of Dreams home that it was like, this place is amazing. Everything else was like, there's some more cornfields.
Yes.
For hours.
It is the bread basket.
But
yeah, it's
the
affordable.
number 2 most affordable state to buy a home. Okay, I could go through the whole list. Not
and
going
you know,
to.
this shows up because I'm going to say number 3 was Illinois. Recently, we had a kid looking at going to college in Chicago, and just as part of the preparation, I'm Googling and seeing, what would it be like. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she's in Chicago. I'm going to Google what it would be like to buy her a little apartment because I know it would be outrageous, yada yada. It was not compared to the housing prices in Salt Lake City.
Really?
Now, we didn't do this. None of this ended up happening. But Googling and finding some potential places that we could buy for her 4-year stay was not as unrealistic in Chicago, Illinois, as it was in Salt Lake City, Utah.
One of the largest cities in the nation.
I was shocked.
That was amazing. Okay, so let's just skip down a little bit. Least affordable states to buy a home. Number 1, unsurprising to anybody in the world, Hawaii.
Makes sense.
Number 2, California. Number 3, that's where we come in, Utah, the 3rd least affordable state to buy a home.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that incredible? Russell Fawcett joins us right now with the Stern team. And Russell, you've seen this change over the last several years where home prices have just skyrocketed. When was the last time you would have looked at a Utah as an affordable state?
I think prior to COVID. I mean, it really, our prices doubled through the COVID years. And so all the way back, and honestly, even before the interest rates went up, on affordability index, as far as in this ranking, we would have been, in the top of unaffordability, but people were still able to make those payments. It really came with, doubling of housing prices, and then the interest rate completely priced a lot of people out of the market.
So interestingly, when I look at this list, except for Hawaii, which is, of course, an island, and Rhode Island, everyone else on the top 10 list is a Western state. So is this the second wave of Western expansion? Why are all these unaffordable states in the West?
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak more to Utah, but you guys opened with, as far as how long have we been ranked in the top with, with economy, fiscal stability, our healthcare systems in the top 10, our education in the top 10. So to me, at least with Utah, the secret's out, and people are starting to come into Utah. And the reality is it's not like real estate agents are setting the prices, right? It's the buyers and sellers that are negotiating to sell at those prices. And so buyers, even this last weekend, we had multiple properties that had multiple offers that are driving those prices up more. And so really, because of the lower inventory, people are still buying the houses, even though where really what I look at is like, okay, when is that wage gap? Because that's what this is based off of, housing prices and wages. When are wages going to catch up with, when are we going to see more wages like California?
Right. Yeah, that is true. We're still usually about 10, 12% lower than wage prices are nationally. Considering, too, we're an overly educated and we're multilingual, we haven't caught up yet in terms of salaries.
Yeah, Russell, when I was looking at some of the most affordable states, like obviously North Dakota, that's not going to surprise me. Kansas, Oklahoma, some of those places, of course, they're going to be a little bit more affordable. But did it surprise you that Utah is just behind Hawaii and California? Does that speak to the staggering growth we've seen over just the last 4 years?
It does. And this is kind of more of a personal opinion, just having traveled and been to other places. But again, it doesn't surprise me because, one, if you go to some of the other states, like their cities are heavy, heavy, heavy concentrated. And then you have small towns. I went to high school out in Wisconsin, and we had small towns everywhere. In Utah, we're kind of, we're growing together, but there's no like really outskirts that are going to pull our prices down. And so we're really looking at almost a big city is what Utah is turning into. And the other thing is, honestly, I don't feel like we necessarily have the ghetto, and hopefully I don't say anything wrong here, but we don't have those places. There's nowhere in Utah that I would be afraid to go walk down the street. Where I've been to other cities, I can't say the same place. And so those places where you have properties that are boarded up or neighborhoods where no one wants to live, when you're looking at averages, those tank averages, even though city to city, downtown to downtown might be comparable, I would still say even with that, I mean, you can buy a single family home here where some places you're just not going to get that.
You bring up an interesting point, too, just with the composition of urban and rural. One of the things we know about Utah is we have for years, decades, been one of the most urban states in the nation. We don't think of ourselves that way. But also, we need to give a shout out to our rural listeners because they are having a different economic experience, and they do need a little bit of juice, but they're living in an interesting time because, the Wasatch Front is growing so much. Dave, I wanted to mention one other thing. I was reading a Fox News story this morning about a study that was just done of 3,000 homeowners and renters in February. This just came out. 53.2% said that housing affordability will impact who they vote for in November, which is, again, I know we talk about it. I was a little surprised to see that the majority of people were saying no. It's actually now factoring into who I'll vote for.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, Russell Fawcett with the Stern team. We've teamed up with the Stern team to help bring some of their expertise to housing issues here in Utah. If you want to learn more from the Stern team and if you want to learn your home's true value in just 30 seconds, go ahead and visit sternteam.com to find more. Thanks, Russ. When we come back, I've been so excited to talk about this because State Auditor John Dougal is going to join us and discuss the costs and the spending in a school district. How much of it goes to administrative costs? The reason we're talking about that is because the Alpine School District is looking to divide up, perhaps maybe into 2 or 3 separate school districts, which means you got to have 3 superintendents and 3 office staffs, and you got to figure out what transportation is going to look like. 3 different ways. So, State Auditor John Dougal joins us next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Utah's explosive population.
They keep seeing more kids move into their boundaries, and they've been looking at what can be done to meet the growth.
Is changing the debate on school district boundaries in Utah County.
A very viable option is to stay together as a district.
This week, Alpine schools hear from parents about splitting into separate smaller districts or staying put. How do we handle meteoric student growth? Listen this week. The future of Utah schools
on KSL News Radio.
Want more speed? Well, you're in luck because Xfinity just increased their internet speeds and they're faster than ever. Plus, with super fast internet and a reliable connection, you can do more of what you love whenever you want. More gaming, more downloading, more video chatting, and more cozy nights on the couch streaming your favorite movies and TV shows. If life with more speed sounds pretty awesome, that's because it is. It's time to get more out of your internet with faster speeds from Xfinity. Get 300 megabit Xfinity internet for only $25 a month for 12 months with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included. That's 50% more speed for the same great price. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and other charges extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Want more speed? Go to Xfinity.com, call or visit a store today.
New home for the new year? Sounds nice, doesn't it? What about new lowered rates? Now's the time to step into a gorgeous new Nilsson home with less commute times, easy access, and with rates that have dropped more significantly than all year. Less really is more in this case. Less maintenance, less commute, and less money per month. Move north with Nielsen Homes. Choose from beautiful townhomes to Rambler communities for all stages of life. Most of all, Nielsen Homes are move-in ready and close to what you love and enjoy with easy commutes. Nielsen Homes has been building across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years, accommodating all the things you need, combined with the things you love. Make sure to ask about special savings. Experience your new home for the new year. Visit Nielsen Homes Communities at nilsonhomes.com. Nilson homes.com. That's nilsonhomes.com.
What would you say if I told you you could get a free furnace? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I hope you'd at least say, tell me more. Now, before you get too excited, let me explain how this works and why we do our free furnace sale. We feel like we've got the best HVAC techs around and we want to keep them. But the only way we can do that is if they're working and providing for their families, so we set money aside for this free furnace sale. We're only able to give you this great deal because you're helping us keep our guys busy. It's actually great if you've been thinking about replacing both your furnace and air conditioner, because when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services by March 31st to schedule a free estimate. One of our HVAC supervisors will come to your home and explain all the details. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Tim and Amanda.
I don't want to be in the dark about things. I'm sure you don't either, Tim. I mean, I want to know what's going on with the weather. Are my kids safe? You know, where is my money going? I want to be informed.
Yeah, the truth is, it's important information for you and your families to make sure that you are informed, so that if some changes are necessary in your life or your children's life, you can make them by listening and starting your morning with us here on KSL.
Wake up with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I love this next conversation. I'm so excited about it. And when I talked to State Auditor John Dougal earlier this morning, I knew the information was out there. I just didn't know exactly how to find it. And sure enough, Auditor Dougal had the answer. And it was like, oh, he's driving in, walking me through. He's like, click on this, go to this website, and you'll find it. So what I wanted to find out, and the reason we're talking about this, is the Alpine School District is looking at whether or not to break up, like divide up into smaller school districts. Right now, Alpine is the largest school district in the state, over 80,000 students they're serving. That's really on the high end. So if they were to divide it up into 2, maybe even 3 school districts, would that help them with their growth? Because this is still a growing area. So Mara Carabello is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. Ooh, I want to talk about administrative costs.
Right.
Like how much is
too much? How
going
much is too much?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I mean, again, it's a great question, because when we hear administrative costs, we're not hearing money going to the classroom. And everybody's number one priority is if you're going to tax me, if you're going to take my money, make sure it goes to the kids. It goes right into that. Now, I will say, I think we hear this mantra a whole lot more with the tax dollars that are going to education than anything else. Like, I don't hear this mantra saying, hey, you know, I want to know exactly how much money is going into the Department of Natural Resources. I want to know how much is going into administration versus how much is going into the field guys who are out there taking care of wildlife. We don't hear that mantra. Right. It just seems as much in other departments.
It's very focused.
I would
in
like
education.
to give a shout out to education that they are often the target of these discussions.
Well, in part because they get the most money.
They get $7.7 billion in 2024. That was the total state education budget. Just by the by, that almost doubled in the last handful of years. So it's our biggest chunk of change, $7.7 billion. But Dave, here's what this number does. When I tell you that 7.7 and I keep popping my B with a billion, now you lead off with what, 688 million, give or take, for admin. Both big numbers, but now they start to have some perspective.
Yes. State Auditor John Dougal joining us right now. So I wanted to find
be
out.
With you too.
Oh, this is awesome, and I'm so glad that you follow this. I want to break down some of these numbers, and then you can maybe fill in some of the details of what I'm looking at. So now,
Dave, before you do that, let me just say the most common question I get asked when I travel the state is where does the money go in public ed? And that's why we created this tool we call Project Kids to show where the money goes, so folks can figure out whether that's what they intend.
And this is an awesome tool. This is a great.
Yeah.
If you haven't logged on, do.
Yeah, go to kids.utah.gov. Kids.utah.gov.
And this is run by the state auditor. You, right?
Yep.
Your office? Okay.
Yep.
So when I called you this morning, I said, okay, is there a way to figure this out? You're like, there is. It's going to require a few button clicks. So you said, all right, you can look at a map on this site and pull up every school in the state. And if you click on the school, so like I did in Alpine, I went to American Fork High School. It shows how much the school is essentially spending on every kid. So at American Fork, it was $10,317. Like the average kid
per student.
Per student, right? And then you broke it down to administrative expenses, and that was about $1,000. So it was 10% of the cost of the student went to administrative expenses. How did you come up with that?
So we actually have about 200 spending categories on a student-by-student basis. We know which students are in which classes, with which teachers, and what principals are there, and so forth. And so we break out the spending by different categories. And so we know what we're spending on the superintendent's compensation. We know what we're spending on the principal, and we allocate all those to the different schools, and then we allocate it down to the students in those schools. And so when you look at a certain school, you will see different amounts being spent on administrative costs based on who the administration is, who the superintendent is, which district we're in, which school we're in, how many administrators are in that school, and we do all that breakdown. In addition to administrative costs, we have breakdowns for instructional services, student support services, operating costs, building facility costs, and so forth.
It really is comprehensive. So when I was looking at these numbers, so let's start with the $10,000 a head for each kid. That's what you're spending. Does that include some of the capital expenses that go into building high schools and so forth?
That includes all expenditures. Regardless of where the money came from, it includes all expenditures. One of my complaints over the years is too many reports fail to include capital costs. And we spend a lot building buildings in Utah because we're a growing state with lots of students.
Yeah, and I love that because I agree with you. We often don't put in these multiple $million bonds. So when we try to decide how much is too much, like what's the right amount, I come from, as you know, the nonprofit world. And the rule of thumb, the general rule of thumb, when you're looking at a charity and deciding if it's a good place to invest your charitable dollars, the rule of thumb is, do they spend more than 15% on admin? And if they do, they're spending too much. And then also if they spend more than 10% on fundraising. So when you want to give your charitable dollars, just make sure that the charity you give is not selfishly spending on themselves and not the purpose. And the reason I relate that is I think it's kind of similar to how much do you need, but it looks like most of if that's my measure for how to give my charitable dollars, it looks like most of our school districts are doing better than most of the charities I donate to.
Yeah, and the key thing from my perspective isn't how much you spend, but it's how well is that money spent. So what you really want to look for is saying, okay, is that administrative cost actually improving student learning or not? Some folks will tout, when it comes to like Medicaid, hey, there's low administrative costs. But guess what? We have fraud as a result of that because of lack of oversight. So you want to see how effective those dollars are being spent and what the administration is actually delivering, how they're supporting students, teachers in their instructional capacity as well as student learning. That's what really matters at the end of the day from my perspective.
And it seems like that measure is really important right now. And what I've heard the school districts say is that the state also now has allowed them to participate in the metrics of how they'll be measured. Does that sound right, John? Like I think before it was sort of given to them what the metrics of measurements now, and now they're participating in that metrics.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you really want people to buy into what are the measures of success and how are they going to measure themselves and how are they going to report that to the public. When people buy into it and they're much more invested in it personally, that matters more than somebody just dictated, do this.
Well, State Auditor John Dougal, thank you so much for doing the work, because this
Dave,
has always
let me
been
remind
something.
Folks,
what's that?
Yeah. Go to kids.utah.gov. What we were talking about is click on the tile that says School Spending Map, and folks can dig into this at kids.utah.gov.
Yeah, and it really is comprehensive. It breaks it down: elementary school, high school, junior high. Let me just throw out a few more school districts that we looked at. We looked at the larger ones in the state. So Alpine, as far as administrative costs, it's 10%. Jordan, 9%. Canyons, 12%. Davis School District, where my kids go, 12%. So the lowest that we saw, the Tooele District, which is only 7%.
Right, $848 a student.
Yeah, so you could see they're spending $12,000 on the students, $800 on the administrative costs. Tooele was the best that we saw so far. So I would be very, very interested to hear from the Davis School District. How do you justify?
Well, and as the auditor said, are you happy with the outcomes that you're getting for this money?
Yeah, and it's a lot of money. It's over $660 million annually, probably close to $700 million right now. So it's not an insignificant amount. And your principals, your superintendents, they are the highest paid employees in the district. Your administration is the highest paid person in your school. So to make sure that you're getting your money's worth from the best, they're supposed to be the best, most invaluable.
Right.
I like tracking it.
Yeah, I love that he's broken it down. It gives us information that we need, and you can get it from your house, which I like.
So when the Alpine School District is looking at breaking up and dividing into 2 or 3 other school districts, remember, you're going to have to hire an entirely new administrative staff for each one of those school districts.
That's right. And this gives you a good chance to maybe estimate what, if any, impact that would have on your household budget.
Absolutely. All right. There's a new bank rate survey that talks about credit card debt and rewards, and maybe this applies to you. Let's break it down. Do you love the credit card rewards? Is it worth it, or does it just suck you into some bad habits?
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. Young renters have struggled with loneliness since the pandemic, but a new apartment complex in downtown Salt Lake hopes to remedy that. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit reports.
This apartment complex is called the Salt Lake Crossing, and it's attracting young renters. It offers private rooms along with communal kitchens and living areas, among other luxury amenities. Now, all of this will hopefully allow the residents to get together and interact with each other more frequently.
Your top national story this hour from ABC News. Is your car spying on you? A new report finds a major data broker is helping insurance companies track drivers' behavior. The data collection was uncovered by drivers using General Motors OnStar service, which is traditionally used to make emergency calls. ABC's Megan Norwood has more.
Nationwide, auto insurance rates are up 26% this year, rising 6 times faster than overall inflation. The increase is blamed on several factors, including the rising cost of car repairs. But now you can add another factor, the possibility of your insurance companies tracking how you drive.
And on the way, we'll be looking at a little more rain in the weather, some more snow as well. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 154 points. NASDAQ up 166. Our KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
So I've been losing some weight recently. I'd like to say this was something I just decided to do on my own, but I don't have that much willpower. I needed some help. I needed someone to hold my hand through the weight loss process, and I chose Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Now, the website is slcfatloss.com. And they told me early on, they said you can lose up to a pound of fat every day. I'm like, well, that sounds way too optimistic. I've never lost a pound of fat a day. And after the first, 20 days, I had lost 20 pounds. I'm like, that is amazing. It's delivering. But now I'm 30 days in. Now I'm 40 days in. In 40 days, I've lost over 40 pounds. It has been incredible, and they've done it without surgery, no injections, no point counting. It takes me maybe 5 minutes a day to track what I eat. So it's a very easy program to follow. It's not burdensome. No exercising, no prepackaged meals. So all of that, incredible results, help me stay motivated. Give them a call, 801-450-1882, but I prefer it online. slcfatloss.com is the website, slcfatloss.com, and you can schedule your free consultation.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
A happy place comes in many colors. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters, that's painting happy. During our spring sales event, special offers are available through April 30th. Schedule your home painting project today and bring happiness home. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
It already feels like home.
Ladies, Dave's Bernina makes it easy for you to own a new Bernina quilting machine.
We're celebrating National Quilting Month with extraordinary pricing and offers.
At Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Saved on the Bernina Q Series quilting machine.
All machines are on sale with extra discounts.
Such as $5,999 on the Bernina Q16 on adjustable folding table, $8,999 on the Bernina Q16 on 10-inch studio frame. Take advantage of 2.99 APR financing for 60 months on select machines. Buy the all-new Bernina L890QE Serger. Receive a free gift package worth over $1,600.
During this sale, treat your sewing love to some sweet extras with special discounts and super savings on Bernina machines and accessories.
Special pricing on Bernina 475 and 770 Cape machines. A great value.
Dave's Bernina, 2017 North 550 West in Provo and 691 East St. George Boulevard.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
Still have a crash blocking the HOV lane southbound 15 in Murray near 53rd South, but delays have cleared, so you're at the full speed limit on all the freeways and city streets. Join Weber State University March 15th for a celebration of indigenous culture and heritage featuring Native American and classical musicians, dancers, and more. Poets weaving harmony on stage. Tickets at weber.edu/Browning Presents. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, some rain today along with rain and snow showers tomorrow. Strong winds expected Thursday and Friday across the northern Wasatch Front. And right now we're looking at 45 degrees with a rain shower. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I love talking about credit cards, mostly because I had a wonderful, amicable breakup with credit cards a while ago, and I've loved it. I am not trustworthy when it comes to credit cards.
Wow.
I've just accepted that about myself, that I am not trustworthy in any way.
Really? You just think it's free money? What's going on?
I am a grown man. I understand how budgets work, and I earn some money, and I'm unable to wrap my head around, like, this is just free, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can just buy these
Anything.
tickets.
And it comes from the credit card gods.
They're so good to me.
Yeah, well, we're also going to talk about, I'm all right with credit cards, but I will readily admit I'm just going to dime out my husband because he's the person here. We are fully enslaved. We spend most of our energy around our Delta rewards. I mean, I'm just not going to lie.
You're all about the rewards.
We're all about the rewards. We're all about accruing that. You'll never catch us on a store-by-store offer because we are deeply dedicated to our rewards card in my household.
Ted Rossman joins us right now, Bankrate Senior Industry Analyst. And Ted, I know, like, logically, you can have a credit card in a rewards program work for your benefit. Why am I so untrustworthy? Can you answer? I don't know. Maybe you can be my therapist. Just a little bit of therapy right here.
Well, it's important to know yourself. I mean, there's a saying in the industry that credit cards are like power tools. They could be really useful or dangerous. And I do think, it comes down to personal habits and usage. Just over half of cardholders typically pay in full every month. For them,
half?
Yeah, 56% pay in full. So for those people, they get rewards, they get buyer protections, it's convenient, life is great. For the other 44%, they're paying a record high interest rate. The current average is 20.75%, and that far outweighs the value of any rewards that people are earning. So I do really think it's important to realize that if you have credit card debt, you've got to put the interest rate first. It's actually a very common mistake. We found that about 2/3 of people with credit card debt are chasing rewards. It doesn't make sense to chase a couple of points in cash back or airline miles if you're paying 20 or 25% in interest.
Is it just that I think people don't understand that when you pay the minimum balance, you're not paying off your card? I mean, is it that we just don't really fundamentally understand how the credit card system works?
The minimum payment math is brutal. TransUnion says the average credit card balance is about $6,300. If you make minimum payments at 20.75%, that average interest rate, you're going to be in debt for about 18 years, and you're going to pay about $9,500 just in interest. So that's a good example of how cards can work against you, unfortunately. Now, they can work for you if you're paying in full and you're taking advantage of these rewards programs. I think a lot of people either don't run the numbers or they're just kind of uncomfortable. I think there's a lot of stigma around credit card debt, unfortunately. We actually found that it's towards the bottom of the list of things that people want to talk about. Like, they'd rather talk about a lot of other sensitive things, not their credit card debt. But we can't hide from it. If you have credit card debt, no shame. There's stuff you can do, like getting a 0% balance transfer card or working with a reputable nonprofit credit counselor such as Money Management International. One big mistake is chasing rewards when you have debt. If you have debt, the interest rate should come first.
Absolutely. If you're looking at credit cards and the rewards programs that they have, what do you look for? Because I know Mara loves chasing. Is it Sky Miles or
it's Sky Miles?
Yeah, loves your Sky Miles.
Hey, but we do pay our credit card every month.
You pay it. You're one of the half. Then the math works. You do it very well. I don't do it well, just like the rest of America. But how do you kind of evaluate? Whether or not should I be chasing miles? Should I be chasing cash back? What do you think?
If you can pay in full and avoid interest, it's all free money. I think the big considerations beyond that would mainly be cash back versus travel. I can tell you that cash back is Americans' favorite credit card reward because it's very simple, it's universal. Who couldn't use more cash, right? Now, travel can actually be more lucrative on a cents per point or mile basis. Travel programs tend to be a bit more complicated, though. Like, sometimes you need to put in more work to research the best deals, maybe transfer to partner airlines. Maybe you need to have some flexibility to travel on the optimal dates. Travel is great, but it is more work. So I would say for most people, cash back is probably the simpler route. Maybe get something like a no annual fee, 2% cash back card like the Citi Double Cash or Wells Fargo Active Cash. That's a really great starting point, either as your only card or
it could be a foundation. And then you also get others that, maybe they only give 1% on most things, but they give 3, 4, 5, even 6% on certain categories where you might spend a lot of money, like groceries or gas.
Ted Rossman, thank you for joining us, Bankrate Senior Analyst. Thanks, Ted. Maura, you said you are like 2/3 of Americans right now.
That's right.
That are chasing rewards.
That's right.
Okay, why mileage?
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna place this firmly on my husband's shoulders.
Okay.
He's a frequent flyer, so he also is being rewarded through the made-up system of frequent flyers, and so he's just ensnared in them, and he's seeing it accrue, and so all things go to come on, they're the hub. Let's just give a shout out to Delta Airlines, who's dictating most of the decisions in our household. So I mean, it is. I think it is. I will say tenacious about paying it off, but yeah.
Here's one of the things that I don't like about airline miles, and my mom just got zapped because it is a complicated program.
It is.
Because they just inflate the numbers. They're like, we're going to give you 30,000 miles. She spent 30,000 miles on a flight to Vegas.
Yeah.
It gave me a heart attack. I'm like, Mom, you just buy that ticket. That one you pay with cash. But because she had some miles, she didn't want to pay for it. That's, I think, the problem with miles versus cash back.
Well, and we do think it's too simple and that it is free, and it's got to be viewed a little more as something you got to work on.
Absolutely. I am completely shocked that, 56% of Americans are paying off their credit card every single month.
In one of the most expensive ways, 22% interest in most cases. I mean, this is the most expensive money you could get.
So is this something that you get sucked into? Let's take some phone calls on this. 801-575-TALK. Have you been enticed, drawn in to the sultry tones, the siren song of rewards, and then been bitten by it? Let us know. Or are you like Maura, who's like, oh, yeah, you just pay it off every month and you collect all the free money? What do you do? 801-575-TALK when it comes to credit cards. Have you been lured into rewards and been bitten, or do you just take their free money? 801-575-TALK.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Believe it or not, it's time for spring cleaning. Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking today. You're not the only one who's tired of winter this year. Your carpets are too, with Zero Res's platinum-rated cleaning systems and environmentally friendly ZR water. They'll extract all that nasty out so your home will look and smell like a home should, with their no residue difference. It's what separates Zero Res from the competition. Just check out the 3,300 raving customer reviews online with a 4.8 Google rating and see what the hype is all about. Right now, get one room of carpet cleaning starting at just $25 with a 4-room minimum. And also take 25% off all other services like air ducts, tile, upholstery, and rugs by using promo code CLEANWEEK to celebrate Utah's Cleaning Week. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now, 801-288-9376, or go online to zerores.com and say you want the Clean Week special. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
This week's movie show is brought to you by My Hearing Centers. Schedule a hearing evaluation and be entered to win a free set of premium hearing aids by tuning in Friday from 10 to 1.
Ladies, Dave's Bernina makes it easy for you to own a new Bernina quilting machine.
We're celebrating National Quilting Month with extraordinary pricing and offers.
At Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Saved on the Bernina Q Series quilting machine.
All machines are on sale with extra discounts.
Such as $5,999 on the Bernina Q16 on adjustable folding table, $8,999 on the Bernina Q16 on 10-inch studio frame. Take advantage of 2.99 APR financing for 60 months on select machines. Buy the all-new Bernina L890 QE Serger, Receive a free gift package worth over $1,600.
During this sale, treat your sewing love to some sweet extras with special discounts and super savings on Bernina machines and accessories.
Special pricing on Bernina 475 and 770 Cafe machines. A great
Dave's
value.
Bernina, 2017 North, 550 West in Provo, and 691 East St. George Boulevard.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, an apartment complex called Salt Lake Crossing trying to make housing friendlier for young people. Second, state wildlife officers trying to find the poachers who beheaded 4 deer and just left them to rot. Third, your car may be spying on you while your insurance company raises your rates. Right now, 45 degrees with a rain shower in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
It surprised me how many of you, number one, are excellent about paying off your credit cards every single month. You usually get the 30-day grace period, whatever you spend, as long as you pay it off in those 30 days, you don't get hit with any of those massive fees. On average, it's 20.75% on a credit card.
Wow. That's amazing. And, again, I think a lot of us, I remember being younger and needing to have it explained to me as the minimum. When I pay the minimum, am I paying off my credit card, right? I don't know why that should have been obvious to me, but I had to be told, nope, the balance is paying off the credit card.
Yeah, and that's a key. And with such high interest rates, it's easy to get. We'd all say no to a 20% interest rate, right? Of course, that'd be very easy to do.
Right.
But what happens is we get enticed. Yeah. We get enticed with rewards programs.
Mm-hmm. And as the expert pointed out, they're not even equivalent, right? Like what you would spend in the penalty of the interest rate would never be made up for in whatever you're getting as a reward.
Yeah, think if you get, and the most popular reward in America is cash back.
Right.
Which makes sense. So you get, let's say, 1 to 3% cash back on everything you purchase. 1 to 3%. That sounds amazing on what you spend. So if you spend $1,000, there you go. You get you get a whopping $30 back.
Yep.
So what happens though is they're counting that half of you don't pay it off every month, and that little dangling the 3% cash back will really suck you into paying back a 20% interest rate.
And spending more on your credit card.
Yes.
Right? Like you said, you would probably do better with a cash system.
Yeah.
Because when you run out of cash, you know you're out of cash. And the credit card makes it so that technically you may never be out of that ability to buy. Well, I mean, there's limits, but
yeah, exactly. 67% of credit card holders make every effort or some effort to maximize credit card rewards. So the vast majority of people are thinking about rewards and using them and how can I optimize them. When you're at a restaurant, do you ever do this? But my family gets together every Friday.
Okay.
We do Family Lunch Friday.
Okay.
So we all get together for lunch, and literally this is what is said. Do you want to split it up all in one check? We're like, yeah, just put it all in one check. And inevitably, the discussion happens, who wants the rewards?
Right. Whose credit card will get the rewards?
And my brother has probably traveled around the world 3 times. He's always picking up the tab, and then we all Venmo him.
Sure, and he chings up the rewards.
And he's got crazy amounts of rewards. So we're taking phone calls. What do you do? Do you get sucked into this? Do you like the rewards programs? Do you pay it off? Or do you, like Dave Noriega, get caught up in it? You have every intention to pay it off every month, but then something happens, car blows, a transmission, you just can't pay it off, and then you end up getting, these huge credit card bills. Which one do you do? Have you always been a rock star credit card folk?
I've not ever been too bad at credit cards. I'm not sure that I'm great at money, I'm not sort of putting myself out there as that, but I've always been okay at credit cards. It's always made sense to me that, although when I was younger, I couldn't pay what you said. I overspent. I really literally couldn't pay when I was in my first and second job, and I had to wise up to seeing those penalties and seeing that it wasn't a benevolent lending system that what I was working with.
They don't want you to travel the world for free.
No,
That's not their
intention. Work
intention?
my way through that. But yeah, credit card debt is amazing. And it really resonated with me in the last segment when he said that this is one of the topics we don't want to talk about. We're ashamed of it.
Yep.
That makes total sense to me. It's everything I don't want to talk about. It's admitting that I'm not paying attention. It's admitting that I might be dumb and not reading the stuff. And you're talking about my personal finances. That's the trifecta of things I am not interested in talking to you about.
You don't make enough money.
Yeah.
Right? That's a tough one to swallow.
And that I was materialistic and bought something, or I don't know, whatever
that you couldn't
other
afford.
values that I'm ascribing to that. It made sense to me that we don't want to talk about this.
We're taking your phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Brett in Orem, have you ever been lured by the siren song of rewards?
I'm actually kind of a proponent of it. I got to admit, I started off as being very skeptical, and I was afraid of what it was going to do to my credit rating. But I have found over the last several months that it can actually work really well for you as long as, like you're saying, you pay it off every month. You don't buy anything you wouldn't ordinarily pay for anyway. You just put what you do buy on the credit card whenever you can.
So what qualifies for you?
Groceries, gas, day-to-day. I just switched from doing a direct payment out of my bank account for my homeowner's insurance to paying that one on the card. Different things like that you're paying for anyway. And as long as you pay it off in full every month, you're getting points for basically what you're going to be buying anyway.
Now, that was a pro tip there. I had forgotten. We do put our bills on our credit card because we're paying for them anyway, and we know we've built that into our budget. And
do you get rewards for that?
Of course, everything you spend on your credit card gets rewards. So
that is a pro tip.
That was a good tip right there.
So help me, you two. If you've Brett in Orem, I'm going to hold a forever vendetta. Like, there's going to be a blood feud between you and I. If you suck me into this one more time and I get bitten by the 21% APR of a credit card.
Now, Brett is not responsible for your, negligence. You got to pay attention.
I just held him responsible. I just said he was responsible.
You called the blood feud.
It's a blood feud, Brett. But, okay, this makes sense intellectually.
Yeah.
And another tip that I like that Brett said is don't use it on things that you wouldn't already buy.
Yeah, so he's using it as a budgeting tool. But what is important about that sentence is he's got a budget, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not free money to him. So that was great.
I love that. Russell, we got 30 seconds, but we got to get you in. What do you think? In my hometown, Kaysville.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you're young, you get trapped in the normal, you're trying to start your life, and I think young people really get sucked into the credit card thing. But I'll go back to the early days of business school. First thing they teach is, the economics. Those who understand interest earn it. Those that don't understand interest pay it. So it's something that every young couple has to get out of the habit of pull out the credit card.
Yes.
And I think there's also the other side of the credit card. It's called debit card. Again, it's easy to spend. You just pull out that plastic card and you just go.
Swipe away. Yep. And that money, it just magically pays for things. But all right, Brett, Russell, I'm holding both of you responsible for my actions. I know you didn't want it, but you called in and you got it. Maybe we'll dip the toes one more time into the rewards program.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Trial underway for a man accused of killing a Provo police officer in 2019. Matt Hoover is facing aggravated murder charges in the shooting death of Officer Joseph Shinners, as well as other charges for failure to stop for police and possession of drugs and a dangerous weapon. Utah isn't doing too well amidst a national drug shortage. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
Utah's ranked second in the nation for the number of people who are struggling to refill a prescription, and this is leaving almost 400,000 Utahns feeling the pinch. The FDA says one of the reasons the nation is struggling is quality and manufacturing problems.
The FDA is collaborating with international companies to bring drugs that are short to the United States. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More safety problems for Boeing. ABC's Lionel Moise has the latest.
The New York Times reports the company has failed 33 of the 89 audits the FAA conducted after a door panel blew off in mid-flight. Investigators later found 4 bolts were missing. The FAA also conducted 13 audits of Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems. 7 reportedly resulted in a failing grade.
Boeing responded to the Times report, saying in part, we're squarely focused on taking significant demonstrated action with transparency at every turn. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 114 points. The NASDAQ is up 154. And our KSL weather, we've got rain today and we could see some snow tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah! Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Want more speed? Well, you're in luck because Xfinity just increased their internet speeds and they're faster than ever. Plus, with super fast internet and a reliable connection, you can do more of what you love whenever you want. More gaming, more downloading, more video chatting, and more cozy nights on the couch streaming your favorite movies and TV shows. If life with more speed sounds pretty awesome, that's because it is. It's time to get more out of your internet with faster speeds from Xfinity. Get 300 megabit Xfinity internet for only $25 a month for 12 months with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included. That's 50% more speed for the same great price. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and other charges extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Want more speed? Go to Xfinity.com, call or visit a store today.
Odds are, if you have a 401k, it's set up with your payroll provider or an insurance company. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you're using your payroll provider or an insurance company for your 401k, the employer may be overpaying for the plan, the employees may have blasé investment options, and those blasé investment options may cost more than they should. Not with Trajan Wealth. Call us today, 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Services offered through a third-party partner.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Emergency crews on the scene and blocking the intersection partially in Weber County due to a crash eastbound Washington Boulevard at 40th Street. At least a right lane is closed due to the accident itself. It's jammed up at that spot. You may want to find an alternate route. Call 801-288-ZERO and get Celebrate Utah's Cleaning Week, one room cleaned, starting at just $25 with a 4-room minimum and 25% off all other services. Use promo code CLEANWEEK, 0RES. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our KSL weather, some rain today along with rain and snow showers tomorrow. Strong winds expected Thursday and Friday across the northern Wasatch Front. And right now we're at 46 degrees under cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
So it's primary season, except primary season's, at least for the presidential race, that's over. It's almost done. Boyd, is it 100% done? Are we at the
tonight?
It's over. Tonight's over.
Tonight it will most likely be done on the Republican side.
I'm trying to remember what the magic number is.
1,215 to be exact is the number of delegates you have to get. President Biden has to get a few more because the Democrats actually have a larger number of delegates to represent their party. So it'll take President Biden. He'll get close tonight, but I think might take him.
And we're willing. I am willing to make a prediction at this point. I don't mind.
Be bold.
Okay, wait.
Be bold, Mara.
I'm going to do it.
Everybody sit down. Mara's going big today.
RFK Jr. for the win. Okay, so there's a tricky little thing going on right now on the Democratic side because even though it's an incumbent, even though President Biden's not really running against anyone, he's not shaking in his boots over Marianne Williamson. This isn't something that's really contested. But voters in these primaries have pushed back about how the president has handled specifically the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through a little bit what is going on?
Yeah, and so one of the big challenges, and part of it I think is just a messaging element coming out of the White House in terms of what they're doing and why. It's so interesting. There was such a galvanizing right after October the 7th but then the messaging really kind of sputtered for a long time. And so then it suddenly became this very different question, especially for younger voters, in terms of innocent Palestinians and Israel's right to exist. That's a big part of this whole thing. In fact, I just got off the phone with our friends over in Israel, talking about just where the challenges are. And Hamas is still saying, look, we don't think they deserve to exist either as a state or as a people. Hard to negotiate with that.
Yes.
So there's some real serious issues there. But I think from a messaging standpoint, it's gotten really troublesome because you can see what is happening inside of Gaza, especially with the innocents. And so that has really caused, again, a communication challenge. And so you had, in particular, in places like Michigan and Minnesota, states that are going to be in that swing state thing in the general election, where you had a large number, you had over 100,000 in Michigan of people vote uncommitted in the Democratic primary. Now, I don't think any of those people are switching over to the Republican candidate in the end. But you also had in Minnesota, you had 20% of the electorate, Democratic electorate there in Minnesota, voted uncommitted as well. And so the question then becomes, do those voters just stay home? Do they not show up? And in a state like Michigan that President Trump won in 2016 by 10,000 votes. Joe Biden won Michigan by, I think it was like 33,000 votes, something like that. So very, very close races. And if people don't show up, that can be the difference.
You know, I think showing up is going to be the story of this election. Whether you're motivated by a certain issue, whether it's Gaza, whether it's women's health, whether it is the economy, whatever your issue it may be, it'll be showing up. So then it gets us to, Boyd, what you know so well, what is our memory bank? So if the election were held today, I think that the Israeli Hamas war and the understandings there are so front of mind. It'll be interesting to see for how long this goes on, and something happening now, let's say now is even in the spring or the summer, how likely is that to impact what we do in November?
Yeah, it is 17 lifetimes away politically until we get to that first Tuesday in November. And it's one of those things. Joe Napolitan, who was like the old school, original pollster, really, in the country. And he would always say, politicians always make the mistake of underestimating how smart the American people are, and they also underestimate how quickly they forget and move on to next. And so that will be the test. Does this continue to perpetuate, and does this get drawn out all the way into the fall? If it does, then that becomes a bigger challenge for the Biden administration and for the Biden campaign. If other things like the economy and jobs and women's health and all of those things become front and center in the fall, then again, the dynamics will continue to shift.
So what is President Biden doing right now in regards to Israel and their leadership, Benjamin Netanyahu? You know, what is he trying to do right now?
That's the $64 question.
Yeah.
And I think part of the challenge, and this has been the struggle for the Biden administration, their ability to take in new information, observe it, orient around it, make a decision, and act is not great. They're very slow in the uptake and then the decision making and then the rolling out. And so part of the challenge, I think, for the Biden administration has been they've been kind of in this appeasement strategy on de-escalate. It's almost de-escalate at any cost. Yeah. And because of that, I think it's caused them some more problems. I think Ukraine's a good example. They had opportunities early on to act decisively and to give Ukraine what they needed, not just to defend, but to win. And then that drug out. And then to Mara's point, everything changed.
Right.
And so I think those are going to be the kinds of tests. And so as you look at Israel in particular with the Biden administration, it's a really fine line. In fact, we'll quote the president. The president said a red line on Sunday, that if Israel went into Rafah, that would be a red line. But then he immediately said that it was a red line, but he was never going to leave Israel without an ability to defend itself, that we would provide weapons, that we would provide what they need to have the Iron Dome that protects them and their citizens. And so suddenly the bright red line became a whole lot of crossing lines. And then of course, Benjamin Netanyahu, no stranger to good political messaging, immediately said, I have a red line. And the red line for me is never again will we have an October 7th. And so now we have dueling red line.
Well, and that's
communication.
one of the best run political and military machines in modern history is the Israeli government. And they're so consistent and so adroit at staying in front of the conversation. Yeah. And you see international leaders uniformly sort of lagging behind Netanyahu's strategic brain and how he communicates. One thing that'll be interesting, I think the Biden administration, I think you're spot on, Boyd, but I do think they finally last week found a way. I mean, one of the things that Americans are asking for is action, not just conversation. We're a little frustrated that he is kind of threading the needle and he's appeasing both. Well, he took a great step in which he said he's going to do a peer, because it sort of stayed out of Israeli politics to some degree. And yet he focused firmly on humanitarian relief and Americans' ingenuity in building. It was a shiny moment in what has not been in many ways well handled. Yeah. Can he find other ways for America to show the humanitarian relief that so many people are crying out for?
That's such a great point, Mara. It was the bright spot, I think, in the State of the Union address, was to say, look, no one's more compassionate than the American people. And we will show that once again, and we're going to do that in a very unique way. And we're going to do this floating pier so we can get aid into Gaza and at the same time still not violate trust or alliances or strategic partners in the region. And so I do think you're right on, Mara, that he played all the right things in that moment. Now, can he parlay that and build it, I think, will be the next test for the administration.
And this administration is in a precarious situation, especially with our relationships with allies or ally-aligned. You look at Afghanistan, you look at what's happening in Ukraine, and now if you remove support from Israel as well, that is now a track record of initially supporting and then pulling out. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of the world is looking at these relationships and maybe panicking a little bit about what America's commitment really is.
Yeah, will the U.S. really be there when we need them? They have been in the past, but will they be there now? And we're seeing that in a lot of places, not just Ukraine, not just in the Middle East, but in Asia, with Taiwan, Hong Kong, all of those in that region. And so the question then becomes, and it goes back to where we started, that de-escalation as a strategy is okay. I mean, we're all for peace. We're all for making sure we use all the diplomatic channels and all of that. But if it's always de-escalate at any cost, then to your point, Dave, our allies start to wonder, will they really be there? But it also emboldens our enemies.
But to be clear, too, this will be lumped on the shoulders of the executive branch. But Biden's philosophy is one of engagement. In America, who is disengaging is the Republican Party. So, I mean, sort of who is calling the shots? If you want to engage in global democracy, it's not the language right now of the Republican Party.
Yeah, Mara's spot on because the Republicans have hunkered down. It is an isolationist bent. The former president is calling a lot of those shots, whether it's relating to the border, whether it's immigration, whether it's Ukraine. And so, the Biden administration has an opportunity. I think they should lean into it further. If I were advising the Biden administration, I would say you've got more to communicate because the Republicans are clearly in retreat when it comes to engaging on the world stage. And I do think that's actually an opportunity. And it does fit President Biden's brand.
Yeah.
He's a talker. He's a connector. And so it fits with that. And if I were advising him, I would say, I would do more of that. I think that's to your advantage.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Look forward to your show today, starting at 1. This segment of the Dave and Dujanovic Show is brought to you by Window World of Utah. Today, you can find out the best value in windows and doors, and that's no baloney.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You know, if you're looking around your house and trying to figure out whether you want to do it yourself, if you want to work on that project that has to do with electricity, I do not. Electricity is the one area where I'm just not comfortable. So I want the professionals to come in and take care of me. That's why I give Master Electrical a call. They are the experts on all things. It's not just lights and ceiling fans, but it's generators, it's smoke detectors, batteries, EV chargers. They can do everything from the beginning to the end of your project. They can walk you through, and they're going to do it by giving you what they call an upfront pricing guarantee. So with a lot of people, when they come in and you ask them to give you a bid, they'll do an hourly bid. You know, I'm going to do this in about a half a day. This is what it's going to cost. Well, if the project ends up going a little longer or it's more complicated, then the invoice has nothing to do with the bid. But with Master Electrical, whatever they bid you, that is the guarantee. You're not going to get overcharged. So they serve everyone from Logan to Santaquin, emergency services as well, so they're always open. Give them a call, 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222, or online at masterelectrical.com.
Saturday, in front of a sellout crowd.
14, 10, and 5 for Spencer Johnson in his final home game as a BYU Cougar. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
BYU clinched its place in the Big 12 tournament.
These seniors have been so incredible for us and so special, and I'm just so proud of these guys.
This week, the Cougars play in their first ever Big 12 postseason. Special extended pregame starts Wednesday at 9 a.m. with tip-off at 10:30 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Ladies, Dave's Bernina makes it easy for you to own a new Bernina quilting machine.
We're celebrating National Quilting Month with extraordinary pricing and offers.
At Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Save on the Bernina Q Series quilting machine.
All machines are on sale with extra discounts.
Such as $5,999 on the Bernina Q16 on adjustable folding table, $8,999 on the Bernina Q16 on 10-inch studio frame. Take advantage of 2.99 APR financing for 60 months on select machines. Buy the all-new Bernina L890QE Serger. Receive a free gift package worth over $1,600.
During this sale, treat your sewing love to some sweet extras with special discounts and super savings on Bernina machines and accessories.
Special pricing on Bernina 475 and 770 Cape machines. A great value.
Dave's Bernina, 2017 North 550 West in Provo and 691 East St. George Boulevard.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's third in the nation for states facing drug shortages at pharmacies. Second, more snow on the way, adding to our water year right now. And third, your car insurance rates may be going higher due to technology that monitors your driving habits. Right now, 46 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We are 1 week removed from caucus night. How are you feeling now? Mara, we were just talking about this. By the way, Mara Carabello is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. You had said something earlier in the show, like sometimes we get caught up in the emotion versus the logic. And I think right after caucus night, I attended it, I was caught up. It was messy. It was clumsy. It was kind of disorganized. Lots of excuses and forgiveness and grace because, it's all volunteers. But the emotions were pretty raw. And even though I like the idea of the caucus and I kind of enjoyed getting together with my neighborhood and my neighbors and having a political discussion, it was clumsy enough that I'm like, this is the future. This is what we chose to do.
you're like, not going to happen again, right?
I
mean, too long, right? It sounded like you had a pretty typical experience. Too long, too hot, too unorganized, weren't getting to the issues you wanted to get to quick enough. But, what's interesting is that night, I was lucky enough to be on KSL that night. That was my excuse for not going to my caucus meeting. But what we were also hearing that night, if I transport myself back to last Tuesday, I was thinking, holy Toledo, there are a lot of people going to these caucus meetings because we're hearing about these long lines out the door. It's crowded. So now, like you said, we have some perspective behind us. So now this becomes a really interesting conversation because check-in was slow, too hot, bad
Wi-Fi
problems, and low turnout, 9.5% turnout for the Republicans that night. Low turnout for caucuses.
That's significant on a couple different levels, and I think I've heard because we were taking phone calls the whole next day. People were so frustrated because I didn't really understand what turnout should have been.
Mm-hmm.
We were at Davis High School.
Okay.
Our precinct squeezed into one room, and there were 75 people in that room.
Right.
So it felt
full.
packed.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh, this is an incredible turnout.
Right.
Got 75 people squeezed in this one room. But then when the numbers started coming out and showing that only 9% of registered Republicans were showing up, I realized, oh, wow, that's a fraction.
Yeah, and I mean the numbers, like just over 9%. Let's give some comparison numbers. In 2016, the number was 34%. And remember, let's go back to 2016. It was Trump, another guy I don't even remember. So it was not a competitive presidential race, and 34% showed up. Now that was a
2020 or 2016?
2016, 34%. In 2020, it was 49% who showed up. So those were the past. Now, I'm comparing a little bit of an apple and an orange, and that's the crux of, I think, some of the discussion, which is if you were participating in the Democratic presidential balloting this year, it was an election. It was a straight-up election. Your clerks ran it. The elections office at the state oversaw it. And almost 70,000 people showed up. You got your mail ballot or you showed up that day for election. The Republicans chose not to do an election. They chose to do a preferential balloting process, a primary process that the party ran. So this was not a state election, as the Democrats had. The party said, we're going to save you some money. Here was their pitch. Their pitch was, we're going to save you a few $1,000,000. And you'll just love getting together with your neighbors. It's the most highly informed folks who show up and come out that day. But why didn't we show up? I mean, a lot of the criticism is because it's an old school way of getting together, right? I mean, I might have a conflict that night. I have to be there kind of within a time range.
It's just a few hours.
Yeah,
right.
And if I miss that, I missed the thing. And then when you hit a wall of technology, so there's been some criticism, interestingly enough, from Republican lawmakers. Notably, Senator Bramble, who said, this isn't the party's election, this is the people's election. And he was a little ticked and saying, no, shouldn't we have used the system that got more people out?
And I'm a big fan of people showing up to vote that know what they're talking about.
Sure.
Right? I think there's a problem sometimes where you'll send out a ballot. People are like, I'm just marking all the Democrats.
Right.
I'm marking all the Republicans. That's what I am. I'm a Republican, so I'm going to vote. I like when people are forced out of their Netflix couch.
Right.
Because that's what you're giving up. You're giving two hours up of your Netflix time.
Yeah.
I have a hard time being convinced that you can't squeeze 2 hours out of your day. I had to cancel my pickleball game. Wasn't happy about it, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? We all have to prioritize something. So I don't have a terrible ulcer over asking people to make a little sacrifice.
Sure.
And if you choose not to come, you can't really complain that other people did.
Right.
They showed up. So I want people motivated. I want people to do some legwork, do some homework. At the same time, if only 9% of people are showing up, that feels like an institutional problem, not just a person problem.
We chose the wrong mechanism to engage, right?
Yeah.
Like it was not that many. There are not 90% of Republicans unwilling to do this.
Yeah.
It was that whatever it was didn't suit the lifestyle, the engagement that was needed to participate. Yeah, I mean, you have to suspect that when the Democrats got a better performance in a state that is one of the reddest in the nation.
Yeah. Are we too lazy, though?
We're definitely too lazy. But here's my other criticism. And I mean, this is so wonky, but you know what? I don't care. I think part of the challenge is we overemphasize national politics.
Yes.
We overemphasize the role of the president. Now, it's a big deal. We should pay attention. But because we're so disconnected from civics, I'm going to say, because we don't cover our cities very much anymore and our counties, and we don't cover our state. When you see polls that you ask someone who the Speaker of the House is, or even the governor, let alone your own rep, none of us know. We just don't know. And so part of that, I say, is you're interested in things you understand and know. You know, I feel this way about sports. If you don't like sports, really learn the rules, and I'll bet you'll like sports more.
Right.
Or when you start following a team, I mean, this happens to me every year. At the Olympics, I pay no attention to this sport, but you show me a couple of good stories about why that guy is doing it, and I'm all in on him, right? So the more we understand, I think the interesting part about politics is actually local politics, but we don't cover it. And so Tuesday night had so much going on at a local level. I think we only sold the presidential campaign, and that was the reason to go. And we didn't really clue you in very well to what other races might be really local and interesting. And here's what's cool about that. You can impact those, like truly, directly impact those.
And that's a message that's being lost.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get that message out.
Well, and I think the parties are failing. I guess I'm going to pile on both of them. They're the ones that when we ask what's going on, they're the ones that should be able to articulate all the wonderful candidates they have beyond presidential.
We had a conversation earlier today about our reticence, our hesitation to talk about credit cards. People don't like talking about credit cards. They don't like talking about their financial health. Well, there's another layer to this that we don't like talking about our personal health as well. And we had a state senator that was very open about his personal health. Senator Todd Weiler was talking about a cancer struggle that he's been battling, prostate cancer specifically. And I so appreciate it because I think it removes some of the stigma, the embarrassment, the tough conversations. And we wanted to learn more about prostate cancer specifically. So we reached out, talked to a doctor and from Intermountain Healthcare. And he talks about the importance of prostate cancer screening specifically. So I'm going to give a big thank you to Senator Weiler for being willing to talk about his health struggles and something he's battling because it's an important conversation. We'll talk to that expert, that doctor, next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bombas. KSL's top story this hour, state wildlife officers trying to track down whoever killed 4 deer and left the bodies to waste. Here's KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston.
Hunters took the heads of 4 bucks and left the bodies. The Division of Wildlife Resources says that's a Class B misdemeanor, and officers say the deer were shot with rifles between October and November last year, around the time of the muzzleloader hunt season.
And you can learn more and find out where to report any information on poaching you discover at our article on KSLNewsRadio.com. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. TikTok is asking its 170 million users across the country to fight back and contact their representatives as they mull a possible ban on the service. The legislation would force TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, to sell the app, or it could be banned in the United States. This comes as lawmakers from both sides of the aisle meet. ABC's Rachel Scott has more.
We are learning that the CEO of TikTok is also here in Washington today, trying to set up meetings with senators here on Capitol Hill who appear much more on the fence than many of the lawmakers over in the House. But the president says he would sign this bill if it's passed.
And the proposed ban comes as concerns are raised that China could use the app to collect data from its users. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 151 points. The NASDAQ up 176. And our KSL weather, we're getting into some rain and possibly snow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio. I just elevated my checking account with Utah Community Credit Union. Tim, I'm so blown away at what I get with my elevated checking account at UCCU. I get so many benefits. I get cell phone protection and roadside assistance. The one that blows me away the most is telehealth. I actually get zero copay telehealth with my checking account from UCCU.
Did you know you also get a 0.25% loan discount? It's one of the many things. And if you like to travel or you're on the road quite a bit, a free ATM nationwide, 30,000 ATM locations that you can use while you're out.
Utah basketball star Walker Kessler and Utah Community Credit Union have come together to announce this brand new elevated checking account with more benefits, more savings, more online protections than ever before.
Yeah, there's even something for dark web monitoring, which I have never heard of before, but you can find out more by just going to uccu.com.
And open an elevated checking account online or stop by any branch.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
American energy is under attack. Joe Biden has waged a war on American natural resources and made it harder to produce affordable, reliable, and clean energy right here in Utah. Our energy prices are already going up. Biden's policies will make it worse. But Republican John Curtis has our back. There is no greater supporter of unleashing American energy than John Curtis. John Curtis knows our abundant natural resources help keep us free and safe, powers our economy, keeps the lights on, and keeps Utah on the move. John Curtis is Utah tough. He's taken the fight to Joe Biden and the Washington politicians who all want to hurt American energy. And now we need a conservative to take the fight to the United States Senate. We need Republican John Curtis, a strong defender of American energy dominance in the fight for us.
Paid for by Clear Path Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Going to a Jazz game is more fun together. Host an unforgettable night at Delta Center with colleagues, friends, families, whoever. Group tickets are the best way to get everyone together to cheer on the Jazz. Pick from a variety of options for seating, dining, and game day experiences. Start planning your big night at the game by calling 801-355-DUMP, emailing group sales at utahjazz.com, or simply visiting utahjazz.com/tickets.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have a crash with possible injuries downtown 7th East, 300 South. Scanners have called out a crash in Murray at State Street and 5300 South. And cleanup continues on a crash, likely with injuries in the intersection of eastbound Washington Boulevard and 40th Street in Ogden. Don't miss the Rocky Mountain Gun Show, March 16th and 17th. At the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Get 500 rounds of 9mm ammo for just $95. RockyMountainGunshows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather looks like we'll get some cloudy skies and rain today, possibly rain and snow tomorrow. And our temperatures will drop down into the low 40s, but then by the time we get to the weekend, we're approaching 60 once again. And right now, it's 48 degrees with cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Yesterday, we learned that Utah State Senator Todd Weiler is being treated for what he says is a quite aggressive form of prostate cancer. This is something that he's battled over the last couple of years, and I've always very much appreciated his willingness to talk about this.
Yeah, it's been impressive.
Not a lot of people do it.
Right.
In fact, Lloyd Austin?
Right.
Secretary Austin had a similar thing where he had a prostate cancer situation, and because he wanted to kind of keep it on the down low, he didn't tell anyone at the White House that he was going in for a procedure. He had some complications. He
didn't tell his closest advisors.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there was some question about the ethics even of and the chain of command.
Yeah, who
with
was
him
in
not
charge
telling.
while he was gone, but at the same time, not to excuse this behavior, I can kind of see why you'd want to keep it private.
It's deeply private, right?
Definitely.
It's probably one of the scariest things you've had to reconcile. Yeah.
Definitely.
And to not want to have that public conversation makes sense. But that lack of public conversation about health is, I mean, that's why, again, we point to people like Senator Todd Weiler who are willing to lead the way on saying, we got to start talking about this stuff.
Yes. And what it did is it led us down a road where we wanted to learn more about it. I'll be quite honest, I don't know much about prostate cancer. So we spoke with Dr. Brandon Barney with Intermountain Healthcare on the importance of prostate cancer screening.
Screening for prostate cancer is of vital importance because it is the cancer that has the highest mortality rate in the United States for men. There has been controversy in the past over screening for prostate cancer because some men will be diagnosed with prostate cancers that don't need upfront treatment. They can be candidates for active surveillance, watchful waiting rather than treatment. And so there was concern that perhaps if you were screening that you might be offering treatment more frequently to men who don't actually require treatment, which is why it's so critical to have a discussion with your primary care provider about the risks and the benefits of screening. We do know that by doing screening for prostate cancer, we will find men who have prostate cancers that need to be treated, and that screening will absolutely save lives if the information gained from screening is used appropriately in conjunction with the cancer care team.
And that was something I was unaware of. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize there were levels. Some that required immediate treatment. Others, it's more of a wait and see and watch how it progresses. Again, I think because we don't have these conversations, we don't really know what we don't know.
Right. And knowing there are different levels also speaks to this. I mean, we never want to hear you have a form of cancer.
Right.
But knowing there are different levels and there are different ways of treating, one of which is wait. I mean, there is a treatment for prostate cancer that is, you just have to wait and monitor. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And patience is not always the easiest thing to hear.
Right.
But that sometimes is appropriate. We also wanted to know from Dr. Barney, what does screening look like for men?
Screening for men would start with a good history and physical examination. Your primary care doctor should ask about your family cancer history, if you have a history of genetic mutations that have led to cancers in your family, if you've got a cancer history specifically of prostate cancer in your family. And then there are a couple risk factors that can lead to higher risks of prostate cancer, including being Black or African American or environmental exposures. And then once that discussion has happened and the patient has agreed that screening is what they would like to pursue, it typically consists of basically just a blood test called a PSA. And the PSA stands for prostate-specific antigen. And it's a blood test that goes up when prostate cancer is present in the body. So most men that are diagnosed with prostate cancer are going to be in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. If you're one of those patients who falls into a high-risk category, African American, genetic mutation, or a family history of prostate cancer, we typically recommend you start the screening at age 40. But for men with kind of average risk, you're a patient that doesn't have any of those risk factors, we typically recommend you start PSA screening at age 45, or at least that you consider PSA screening at age 45.
a simple blood test, largely.
Right. So, you and I were talking a second ago about why we're all so resistant to preventative care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the interesting question. Even as I listen to this, I'm like, okay, it's a blood. I have a needle phobia. So you know what you do? You look away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not going to be that hard to get it. Why are we? Is it just we're so busy? Is it that the system's too hard to get into? I mean, we all know this. If you do basic preventative care, of which mostly isn't that invasive, right? That information is power. Why does it feel so fearful to get the information?
Yeah, and in my experience, the fear of the unknown is far worse than the things I learn. I get an annual physical I have for years and years. I had some high cholesterol in my 30s, so I've just always been good about every year going in, getting an annual physical. And quite honestly, they take a few vials of blood, they check my cholesterol, they check, a bunch of different things, and it's just not that big of a deal. And I think almost to your point is, do you have some sort of relationship with your doctor? I've had the same doctor for 20-something years. I make fun of him for the terrible magazines he has in the lobby.
That's right.
Like, that was our bonding moment. I'm like, these are terrible magazines, Doc. You got to get something new. And I think in part having that kind of a relationship and developing a relationship through, even though I see him once a year, I think that's really helped me be able to talk about important parts of my health, especially as I get older.
I think that's key because I haven't always. I haven't, in my late 30s, 40s, I just didn't have a relationship to a primary care. And if you ask me why, I'd be like, I don't know. I just didn't, right?
Yeah.
And I let preventative care kind of go off to the sidelines. Now I, have a relationship and I get an annual physical. But I would say that's the first step is just establish care with a family practitioner.
Final thing I wanted to learn, or what are some of the warning signs that could point to prostate cancer from Dr. Brandon Barney?
Prostate cancer is kind of a tough one because most of the patients that I see actually don't have symptoms when they get diagnosed, and that includes men even with very high-risk prostate cancer. But there are some signs and symptoms that prostate cancer could be a problem. One of the main ones is just if you notice an increase in the frequency that you're urinating at, or if you're getting up more at night to urinate, if you have a more difficult time delaying urination, or if you have burning or irritation when you urinate. The challenge is that those symptoms are also common with a non-malignant form of prostate enlargement called benign prostatic hypertrophy. But, being evaluated when you have those type of symptoms to figure out what is leading to those symptoms can be really helpful. The symptoms that I was describing there, with the change in urinary function, those symptoms are consistent with benign prostatic hypertrophy, also known as an enlarged prostate, or it could also be caused by prostate cancer.
A big thank you to Dr. Barney with Intermountain Healthcare, and also to Senator Todd Weiler, who has been so open about his battle with prostate cancer. We wish him the best and hope his health is wonderful and that everything works out. An important conversation from Dr. Barney, so thank you. When we come back, let's go back to the Alpine School District. The Alpine School District is having a meeting tonight and several over the next few days about whether or not they should divide up the state's largest school district. And if they do, okay, then what's next? Can we afford to?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is what you've been waiting for. Well, I know some of you have. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and we don't usually experience a slow season, but when we do, it's this time of year when the weather's transitioning from winter to summer. You see, when the weather's mild, HVAC demand slows, but we still need calls for our technicians, and that's why we run our free furnace sale. Here's how it works. When you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it, about $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services by March 31st to schedule a free estimate with one of our HVAC supervisors. They'll explain all your options and exactly how much you can save on a new furnace and air conditioner. Again, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it, about $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate, 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Sneezing, coughing, stuffy nose, runny nose, postnasal drip, interrupted sleeping. I was groggy at the end of the day.
Allergies and sinus congestion were making Jana miserable. Then, a friend recommended Navage. Navage provides immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Navage helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
Navage gave me instant relief. I didn't have to wait 30 minutes. I didn't have to wait an hour, 90 minutes. I didn't have to wait a minute. I ran the rinse and I felt better.
Stop suffering from congestion and start breathing and feeling your best again with Navage. Navage.
I've had people ask me how I find relief, and I tell them Navage immediately. This thing is amazing.
Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Believe it or not, it's time for spring cleaning. Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking today. You're not the only one who's tired of winter this year. Your carpets are too, with Zero Res's platinum-rated cleaning systems and environmentally friendly ZR water. They'll extract all that nasty out so your home will look and smell like a home should, with their no residue difference. It's what separates Zero Res from the competition. Just check out the 3,300 raving customer reviews online with a 4.8 Google rating and see what the hype is all about. Right now, get one room of carpet cleaning starting at just $25 with a 4-room minimum, and also take 25% off all other services like air ducts, tile, upholstery, and rugs by using promo code CLEANWEEK to celebrate Utah's Cleaning Week. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now, 801-288-9376, or go online to ZeroRes.com and say you want the Clean Week special. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Looking for a secure retirement plan without market risk? Look no further. Lyle Boss, president of Boss Financial, specializes in no market risk retirement strategies with guarantees of principal, guaranteed growth, and lifelong income. Join Lyle right here each Saturday and Sunday for his Safe Money radio show, and call him now at 855-355-SAFE for your complimentary customized Safe Money information kit and Safe Money book. Nothing but upside here at 855-355-SAFE.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. According to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, American healthcare spending reached $4.5 trillion in 2022. As businesses, individuals, and households navigate rising healthcare expenses, a shift towards proactive health strategies is crucial. Julie Wild, founder of Transform with Wellness, joins us with more.
Did you know that 90% of health outcomes are determined by modifiable behaviors and choices of diet, lifestyle, and environment? It's time to take action to improve your health for a better quality of life, regardless of your health status, and experience the power of elevated well-being. As a results-driven health coach with a corporate background, I'm passionate about empowering professional women on the journey to their best selves. From stress management to feeling and looking their best, I specialize in helping women with personalized health transformation programs, workplace wellness initiatives, and engaging speaking events. Discover possibilities and solutions for upgrading your health and supporting your employees' well-being. Whether you're seeking personal breakthroughs or looking for innovative ways to enhance workplace health, Transform with Wellness is here for you. Why wait? Reach out to me at julie@transformwithwellness.com or visit our website at transformwithwellness.com to get started today.
Transform with Wellness's mission is to empower people to transform their lives by optimizing their health with a strong foundation of wellness. Visit their website to learn more. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, thousands of crashes on the Mountain View corridor over the past 5 years are the result of drivers running red lights. Second, Utah pharmacies third in the nation for shortages of prescription drugs. Third, the CEO of TikTok is on Capitol Hill today, lobbying to keep his service from being banned. Right now, 48 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
We don't split up school districts very often. The last time we did it was 15 years ago when the Canyon School District separated from the Jordan School District. Now, you may not realize this, but there are 41 school districts in Utah.
Wow, I didn't know it was that many.
It's a big chunk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the largest is the Alpine School District.
The one
It has
we're
about
yeah.
80,000 students.
Whew.
Little quiz time. I buy your lunch if you know who the smallest is.
Oh, I'm going to say it's
Actually, I don't trust you. You might know this.
Duchesne. Whoever,
oh, you were close.
Whoever the district is in Duchesne.
Daggett.
I
Daggett
should
School
have gone
District.
with Daggett. I know better.
Yeah, it's got like 200 students.
Okay, good for them.
So, yeah. It's
specialized attention is what we like to call that.
you know all of your kids in that. Like, the superintendent probably knows them by name.
And their parents and their grandparents.
And the parents and the grandparents, yeah, for sure. So Alpine is trying to figure out, what do we do? We're the largest school district in the state. We're in an area, kind of an odd area, because the Alpine School District goes from Orem, walk with me, hold my hand.
Okay.
I'm going to go all the way to the north side of Utah Lake.
Right.
Cross over the north, down onto the west side, Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs.
Yep.
All of that upside down horseshoe over Utah Lake is the Alpine School District.
So I cross over into Utah County. I'm at the point of the mountain. I hit Alpine and I stay with Alpine until I get to the Orem exits.
Yeah.
You know,
that's enormous.
That's enormous.
And
high growth. I mean, those cities, you don't visit those towns. You know, if you wait 6 months in between, you're visiting a whole new town when you show up 6 months later.
Yes. And the business aspect of it, you've got a lot of businesses at Traverse Mountain.
Right.
So right now, the Alpine School District is pulling from residential, from business. There's a lot of property tax money that is funneling into this. So what is the appetite to shrink it? Because the anticipation and what all the studies have shown is that this Lehigh, Alpine, Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain area is just going to continue to explode and grow in Utah. Mm-hmm. So this is unsustainable for the Alpine School District.
Right.
They can't keep managing this exponential growth.
Right.
So the proposals are to keep it the same. We'll just keep growing. Stick with it. Option number 2 is to divide it into 2 different districts. Option number 3, possibly 3 districts. And the way they divide it up, there's different maps. They're going to have some meetings today. What is it? Today, tomorrow, and Thursday. One's at Timpanogos High, one's at Vista Heights Middle School, and then American Fork Junior High. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They're going to take public comment. They're going to go through the plans. You can look at some of the proposals. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah,
there's going to be a
tons.
lot of opinions.
And, you know, again, they're predicting for the future. The other thing, you alluded to this, but it's a really good point. Not only do you need to consider who your kids will be going to, probably to high school, right? I mean, elementaries are drawing from smaller areas. But as parents say, wait a minute, I don't want to be divided here and here because my kid's friend group. But the other consideration that you mentioned is tax bases. So, right, like I want to be right now next to that big old strip mall.
Yeah.
Where is the supplemental tax income? Because property tax hits businesses as well as residents. But if I'm a resident paying it property tax, I sure want to be close to a big old business paying it too, because they generate so much more money.
It was one of the concerns because you'll remember 2 years ago, let's go in the time machine really quick. Orem, the city of Orem, which is an older city, has been around, it's established, there's not a lot of growth potential there anymore. They were getting frustrated with Alpine School District, where they're a part of, because they're growing so quickly. There's all sorts of school bonds. There was a $500 million school bond out there. And Orem, in their schools,
that were well built out already, right?
That are certainly built out. Some schools, very old, probably need to be replaced. They were feeling a little picked on.
We're paying for other people's growth.
We're paying for everyone's growth. So they proposed It was a proposal to separate and create their own Orem school district.
Right, and a hot debate, right?
Yeah, very hot debate. Well, it went to a vote, and Orem resoundingly spoke against it and said, no, we want to stay with Alpine. 70% of folks said, no, do not break away.
Right.
So it almost kicked the ball down the field just a little bit longer because, again, something has to happen.
Right.
Like, you cannot just keep this already large school district and expanding even more. So the next part of the question is, okay, if you're going to divide it up into 2 or maybe even 3 different districts, how much is that going to cost me, the taxpayer?
Which was such a good question. Is it more expensive to have 3 districts, which means 3 administration costs? You brought this up earlier. Is it just more? Or could you have done it with 2 and now you're doing it with 3 and you've got all those built-in costs? Or is there some efficiency there? You've got to ask. We're getting into some mega schools. Like when I went to school, a 4A school, I think we had 5A, but that was maybe 1,500 kids now. We're looking at high schools in Utah that have 3,000 kids.
Right.
Do we like these mega schools? And is there an economy of scale always between administration and bigger students? Or at one point, does it cut against you and you would rather have a smaller district? Yes, you're still paying administrative. Now you're doubling your administrative costs.
And if you're interested in the numbers, the state auditor, John Dougal, has a website that is phenomenal where he breaks down how much teachers are making, how much are administrative costs. To give you an idea, the weighted pupil unit is largely how we measure spending on students. That's a little over $4,200 per student, I believe. That's about $3 billion worth of spending.
Right.
For our 675,000 students. Administrative costs are around $670 million. So that's something to take into account, because if you have 3 different school districts, you're going to need administrative buildings. You're going to need 3 different superintendents, office staff, human resources, transportation. Anyway, tonight you can go to Timpanogos High School, the auditorium at 7 o'clock to hear the latest.
And hit up kids.utah.gov to check out your numbers.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.